My farm is in the desert. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 40. I'm lucky. Dashan, did you step on dog shit when you went out today? Cai Hongming opened his eyes wide and took a flashlight to carefully shine on the corner of the stone that Chen Dashan had split with a knife, and asked Chen Dashan in astonishment. You are the one who stepped on dog shit? Chen Dashan said unhappily. Li Chun heard the implication of his words and immediately widened his eyes. Brother Hong, this can't be a piece of jade. Jade. When the people around heard that it was jade, they all gathered forward to take a look. Mireng Hua was considered to be a person who knew more about jade among these people, so he pushed away the people in front of him and carefully shone the flashlight on the stone that Chen Dashan had split. Suddenly, he turned around and said to him with a strange look, Dashan, you are really lucky. At this time, Chen Dashan didn't know that the stone he accidentally split was a piece of jade, and he couldn't help but touch the back of his head and laughed foolishly. Cai Hongming frowned, thought for a while, and tried to ask them, do you think my suggestion just now is a bit too hasty? I think it's better to count the jade together after we find it, and then we can square it after selling it. This is in line with our team spirit. As the saying goes, share the happiness and share the difficulties. Of course we should make money together. His words attracted everyone's contempt, and Shiwana pinched him hard on the waist without any hesitation. It was really embarrassing. Everyone ignored him. Seeing that Chen Dashan was so lucky, they picked up their tools and hit the stones next to them. Unfortunately, they didn't have Chen Dashan's luck, and finally returned empty-handed. Shiwana picked up a thumb-sized piece of mutton fat jade seed material under a stone in the water, and she was so happy that she danced happily beside it. She often showed it off in front of Cai Hongming, which made him so angry that he wanted to spank her hard. The jade on the river beach was so big that even yaks couldn't carry it away. Seeing that it was still early, Cai Hongming called Akabig. After finishing his meal, Akabija had just laid down on the bed, wanting to take a rest. Suddenly, he heard the news that Cai Hongming and his team had found a piece of heavyweight jade. He immediately jumped out of bed, drove an off-road vehicle, and called an excavator to the river section where Cai Hongming and his team were. I don't know how he drove. He drove dozens of kilometers in half an hour. He was also very arrogant. Regardless of the many stones on the riverbed, he drove the car in front of Cai Hongming and his team. As soon as he got out of the car, he shouted, where is the jade? Where is it? Cai Hongming hurriedly took him to see it. As soon as they arrived, Akabija took out a set of tools and carefully examined the jade on the riverbed. After a while, he said, Hongming, you are rich. This is a piece of top quality mountain stream material. There are 4 types of Hessian jade materials. They are divided into seed material, mountain stream material, gobi material, and mountain material. After long-term natural geological movement and glacial movement, the raw stone, or on Kunlun mountain was stripped into blocks of varying sizes. After being washed by rain and snow, it flowed into the river and flowed into the water with the river. It is called Hessian jade mountain flowing water material. The Hessian jade mountain flowing water or stone was washed by the Ulan-Kashi River for hundreds or even tens of thousands of years to form Hessian jade seed material. The mountain material is the jade material directly mined from Kunlun mountain. The gobi material is the original, or on Kunlun mountain that was transported to the Gobi desert due to natural reasons such as crustal movement or avalanches, and was formed by wind and sand grinding and rock flow impact. How much is it worth? Chen Dashan next to him suddenly interrupted and asked. Although Akabig was a little dissatisfied with his abrupt question, he knew that he was a friend of his niece's husband, so he didn't mind it. He answered kindly, although this material does not meet the standards of top collections, it is also of high quality. The price is estimated to be around 7 million. If it is operated, it may be higher. Chen Dashan's heartbeat almost stopped when he heard it. Happiness came too suddenly, and he didn't know how to face it. Others opened their mouths so wide that they almost stuffed a duck egg. In 2012, because the jade market was too chaotic, The Western Xinjiang Heishan Jade Market Alliance issued a Western Xinjiang Heishan Jade, white jade, submaterial classification standard. According to the main sensory identification characteristics of Western Xinjiang Heishan Jade, white jade, submaterials, the classification and grading of the texture characteristics such as fineness, glossiness, whiteness, skin color, submaterial shape, etc. are classified and identified under natural light or flashlight according to the fineness, glossiness, whiteness, skin color, submaterial shape, etc. Mainly divided into 3 types: collection level raw materials, high quality processing raw materials, and ordinary processing raw materials. This regulation has standardized the chaos in the Heishan Jade market to a certain extent. Because now in the Heishan Jade market, there are not only jades produced in the Heishan area, but also jades produced in Russia, Qinghai, South Korea and other places. These jades are mixed together, and it is difficult for people who don't understand to distinguish them, which makes people easily deceived. Now the world is united, and Heishan Jade itself is no longer just referring to the jade produced in the Heishan area of Western Xinjiang, but the name of a category of products. In my country, stones with more than 98% tremolite are named Heishan Jade, which can also be called nephrite, tremolite, tremolite plus nephrite, tremolite plus Heishan Jade. These names are not illegal, and are within the scope of the national standard. The jade from Russia, Qinghai and South Korea also meets this standard, so it is also called Heishan Jade. Many unscrupulous businessmen pretend that the jade materials bought from other places are produced in the Heishan area for profit, and they are inferior and good, making the jade market chaotic. Many people have been deceived, so the Western Xinjiang Heishan Jade Market Alliance will issue such a regulation. After all, no matter how the jade outside changes, it can't compare with the local jade. You have to know that the local jade in Hotan has been nurtured by the Kunlun Mountains for hundreds of millions of years, and washed by countless years. How can those foreign jades compare to it? While they were distracted, Shiwana proudly took out the piece of mutton fat jade she found from her pocket, and showed it to Akabig. Akabig was more excited to see the mutton fat jade she handed over than to see the jade material that Chendashan accidentally split. He kissed Shiwana on the cheek and said, "Ayagili, you are worthy of being the pride of our Tajiks. You can actually find such a big piece of precious jade. What do you want to do with it? If you want to carve it into something, please rest assured to give it to your second uncle. After returning, I will definitely find the best carver in Hotan to carve the most satisfactory work for you." Shiwana was praised so much that her eyes were smiling. However, she had never thought of selling this jade. She just wanted to keep it for herself, but after hearing what Akabig said, she changed her mind and decided to carve it into something. But she couldn't think of what to carve for a while, so she turned around and asked Hongming, "I'll carve a statue of a god. Hang it on your body, to bless you with peace, happiness, and joy." Cai Hongming said lovingly, "This is for you to wear. You have to like it." Shiwana thought about the things she picked up. Of course, she would feel accomplished only if her husband hung it. But Cai Hongming didn't like to hang these things. He thought it was too cumbersome. But his wife was so enthusiastic, and he didn't want to disturb her interest. After thinking about it, he said, "Then carve it into your image and hang it on your body. When I see it, I can think of you." "No." Shiwana rejected it domineeringly and gently pointed to his chest and said, "You can only remember me in your heart, not on a piece of jade." Jidong and others who came to their senses grinned when they heard it. They felt that it was too sensational. Some people inexplicably thought of the joke on the internet that showing affection will lead to death quickly. Then, how about this? We keep the jade first, and when we pick more, we can have someone make it into a set of jewelry for you. How about that? Jidong and others felt bad. The jade in the mountains was his family's stone, so he could pick it up however he wanted. But Akabig was very happy. His family treated Shiwana as their daughter, and they were naturally happy to see Cai Hongming love Shiwana so much. After a while, the excavator shipped by the truck finally arrived, and Akabig directed the workers to dig up the jade and put it on his off-road vehicle. After it was done, he didn't leave, but continued to direct the excavator to dig on the river beach, and then called his family to ask the relevant departments to contract the excavation of this section of the riverbed, and asked the workers to buy tents, food and other things to come, as if he wanted to set up camp here. Now there are fewer and fewer jades that can be dug from the riverbed exposed to the river surface. Since good jade can be dug here, how could he let it go? After all the instructions were in place, Akabija did not avoid Jidong and others and directly told Cai Hongming that they were the first to discover the jade in this riverbed. If they could find the jade, they would give them 30% of the profit after deducting the cost. This condition was undoubtedly very tempting to Cai Hongming. After all, they didn't have to pay anything, just wait for the harvest and they could get 30%. What else could they not be satisfied with? If it weren't for Akabija's consideration for Shiwana, he wouldn't have to pay them at all. He would just wait until they left and then start digging. No one would know about it, so they agreed. Although there was such a big harvest, according to Cai Hongming's idea, they had just walked a short distance to find the jade, and they didn't eat much of the food they brought. There was still a lot left, and they couldn't turn back immediately. So they continued to move forward to find the jade. Before leaving, Akabija specifically told them to be careful. Cai Hongming also told him so, and told him that they had just seen someone robbing with a knife, but they ran away because they were out of number, so Akabija should be more careful. In this kind of thing, Akabija knew what to do without him telling him. In this deep mountain, there is no law and order, and the various things caused by digging for jade are many times more cruel than imagined in reality. He knows much more than Cai Hongming, otherwise he would not have stuffed a gun into his hand. PS. The order of the previous chapters is wrong. It should be chapter 40 here, correct it. To be continued, chapter 41. It seems that we have to bring out the ultimate secret weapon. Hassa, our people are missing. In the villa in Hotten City, the man in black robes ran over to Hassa in a panic to report. Hassa frowned and asked, "What happened?" "I don't know what happened. I can't get through on the phone, and I can't find anyone through location search. I think something must have happened. How is it possible?" Hassa couldn't believe that several well-trained knife-wielding warriors would be captured by Cai Hongming and others. He felt that something must have happened. "Find them for me. I want to see the bodies alive or dead." "Yes. Wait. Send someone with guns to see if they have dealt with Aegila's man and his friends. If not, just deal with them by the way. Remember, don't hurt Aegila." Understood. Cai Hongming and others walked along the dry riverbank for about 2 hours and finally walked out of the dark part, where the sun was blocked by the mountains. However, it was almost dusk at this time. Seeing that it was getting late, they set up camp on a relatively high place by the river to cook dinner. They brought a lot of food with rich varieties. There were not only mutton and beef, but also canned vegetables, fruits, biscuits, bread and other things. It was impossible to cook in the wilderness, so in addition to using a pressure cooker to cook rice, Cai Hongming washed the ingredients he brought and threw them all into the big pot he brought, which he called a hodgepodge. There were meat, vegetables, seafood, and wild delicacies in it. After cooking, the taste of various ingredients mixed together, and the taste was really good. The group of people ate until their mouths were full and their stomachs were full. After eating, Cai Hongming took out the wine he brought and drank with everyone. Juma, the young man who was called by Akiba to lead them, saw that they liked to drink rose wine, so he gave him a jar. According to him, this is not rose wine, but rose dew, which is more advanced than rose wine. Although Juma's family is in Shash, they married a girl from Hotten. The girl's family planted some roses, and every year they would go to pick petals to make rose jam and rose wine. Rose dew is the essence of rose wine. It takes almost 100 jars of rose wine to compare to 1 jar of rose dew, which is very rare. If it weren't for Shiwana, Cai Hongming would have had a hard time getting a drink. You know, Shiwana's beauty is well known among the Tajiks, and she is the object of admiration of all the young men and women in the tribe. Otherwise, Hassa would not have hated Cai Hongming so much after seeing him marry Shiwana. It was a typical case of love turning into hate. Rose dew is indeed extraordinary. When it falls into the mouth, it has much more rose fragrance than rose wine. Not only does it linger on the mouth, but it seems that even the body is filled with the fragrance of roses. The wine is not intoxicating, but the fragrance of flowers is intoxicating. a jar of wine. It was drunk up by them not long after. They all felt a little unsatisfied. It's a pity that Cai Hongming only has this jar, and he only brought this jar of wine out, so he can only savor it. After drinking and eating, it was already dark. A bright moon floated high in the sky, hanging on a corner of the mountain, emitting bright moonlight. It was just getting dark, so it was still early. The night was long, and he couldn't fall asleep, so Cai Hongming picked up a flashlight, walked to the river, and shone it into the shallow water. Generally speaking, it is easier to find jade at night than during the day, because it is pitch black at night. If the flashlight shines on the jade exposed between the sand and mud in the water, it will emit light, which makes it easy to see, so relatively speaking, it is easier at night. Shiwana couldn't sleep so early, and after listening to Cai Hongming's nonsense, she foolishly followed him to look for jade by the river. After searching for a while, Shiwana suddenly saw something in the river emitting a bright light. She quickly called Cai Hongming in front of her, pointed to the glowing position and shouted, "I saw that glow. There must be jade. You hurry over and get it back. I saw it wrong. Where is the jade? I'm almost blind looking for it, and I didn't find a piece." Cai Hongming said disapprovingly, "I didn't see it wrong. There must be. You hurry up and get it." Shiwana ordered dissatisfiedly. There was no other way, so Cai Hongming had to take off his shoes and fish for jade in the cold river according to her instructions. He was just perfunctorily searching in the river, but he seemed to have really touched something, and took it up to have a look. Oh, it was a seed jade with a slight patina. I don't know how her eyes were so sharp that she could find it even in this way. After walking ashore with the things, Shiwana took the jade from his hand and shouted with joy. No wonder she was so excited. This piece of jade was the size of a palm, and if it was sold, it would be worth a lot of money. Jidong and his friends who were playing cards in the tent heard Shiwana's shouting and thought something had happened, so they ran out to see what was going on. They saw Shiwana was like crazy, shouting and jumping over there and taking charming selfies with her mobile phone. I don't know if anything can be taken in this hazy moonlight. "Brother Hong, what's going on with the boss lady?" Pan Heyman asked Cai Hongming carefully when he saw Shiwana's look. "You found the jade?" Cai Hongming squinted at him, thinking that this question was stupid. "Did you find it in the river?" This question was so stupid that Cai Hongming was a little reluctant to answer it. He immediately said unhappily, "If it wasn't found in the river, could it have fallen from the sky? How stupid does this person have to be to ask such a question?" When Pan Heyman and others heard this, their eyes widened, and they ran to the tent to get flashlights to look for jade in the river. Cai Hongming looked at it with disdain. If he couldn't find it himself, how could they find it? It was just that Wana was lucky to find one. Do these guys think that there are a lot of them? Cai Hongming thought so, but unfortunately the facts were always contrary to what he thought. After a while, Jidong and others found the jade. Although some were big and some were small, some were good and some were bad, they finally had some gains. Only he was still empty-handed. He looked at it and quickly buried his head in searching. But no matter how hard he looked, he couldn't find it. However, Jidong and his team, who he thought would not find jade, repeatedly gained something. The one who found the most was Pan Heyman. I don't know how his eyes were long, but he actually found 5 mutton fat jade seeds as thick as the index finger. It seems that I have to use the ultimate secret weapon tomorrow, otherwise it would be too embarrassing to be compared like this. Lying in the tent, Cai Hongming thought secretly, and then hugged his wife to sleep. Shiwana was also very happy. She actually hugged the jade she found to sleep, which was really speechless. The next morning, after waking up, after eating and packing up the tent and other things, Cai Hongming and others continued on their way. After walking forward for a while, they decided on a location and used it as the center to look for jade everywhere. After settling down, Cai Hongming finally took out his ultimate secret weapon, the white worm in the paradise and the jade tripod. Perhaps because the food was too good, the white worm, that was only the thickness of a thumb, before has grown into a small fat worm that is 2 fingers thick and 15 centimeters long. The head is particularly large, and the eyes are particularly round. It looks cute and very adorable. But Shiwana was frightened by the little fat bug he suddenly took out and screamed loudly. The little fat bug was so scared that it went straight into Cai Hongming's clothes, thinking that the creature in front of it was too scary. To be continued. Chapter 42. The fat bug shows its power. Cai Hongming. Shiwana came back to her senses and angrily looked at the troublemaker, her eyes wide open like bull eyes, her face full of murderous intent, her hair standing on end with anger, like a lion in the North Sea. Cai Hongming calmly swallowed his saliva, knowing that if he didn't explain this matter well, he would definitely be doomed, so he hurriedly explained, "Wife, this is a treasure. A dead bug. What kind of treasure is it?" Shiwana said angrily. In fact, she was not afraid of bugs and other things, but Cai Hongming suddenly took it out, and the bug was so big that she was scared. At this time, she came to her senses and of course she had to settle accounts with Cai Hongming. So, the small and slender hand like white jade pinched his waist. In an instant, Cai Hongming's face turned from red to blue, then from blue to pale, and then from white to red, and so on. He felt that the meat on his waist was not his own. Jidong and others beside him took a breath of cold air when they saw him. Let her vent. Seeing that his wife's anger had almost subsided, Cai Hongming held her hand and said, "Wife, it is really a treasure. It can help us find jade." Brother Hong, stop joking. How can a bug find jade? I think it is so fat. It is better to fry it and eat it. It should be very fragrant. I have eaten fried green worms. It tastes very fragrant and tastes good. I heard that it is full of protein and is very nutritious. Li Chun said. The little fat worm did not understand what he said, but he could clearly feel a strong malice from his eyes. The round eyes flashed, and the body turned, facing Li Chun. Then the body stretched, and suddenly ejected a ball of something from the butt. Li Chun opened his mouth, and the thing flew over. It fell right into his mouth. The people around him swallowed their saliva for him. It felt so strange. Li Chun was so disgusted that he wanted to vomit, but he couldn't vomit it out. He looked up and shouted at the little fat bug, "I'm going to kill you." Seeing his ferocious look, the little fat bug was scared and crawled on Cai Hongming. Cai Hongming said quickly, "It's okay, it's okay, it's a good thing. You drink it often. It's okay to eat it." Hearing him say this, Li Chun smacked his lips to savor it. It felt that the disgusting thing sprayed by this hateful bug seemed to taste similar to the tea brewed at home. He widened his eyes and asked, "Brother Hong, the tea pills we drink at home are not excreted by this thing?" Jidong and others beside him looked at Cai Hongming when they heard it. What is this? The little fat worm is a treasure. What it excretes is also good stuff. In Hunan and Yunnan, they specially cultivate worms to eat leaves. Then they dry the excrement of the worms and export it to Europe and the United States. It is very popular. They call it worm tea, and the stuff is not as good as the little fat worm's excrement. People in Europe and the United States have strong tastes. They don't drink good coffee, but like to drink the coffee beans that cats eat and excrete, and say that it has a special fragrance. It's disgusting. Brother Hong, don't use this thing to make me in the future. I can't stand it. Miring Hua said from the side. Damn, I didn't force you to drink it. You wanted to drink it. Brother Zhang also said that it tastes good, better than the tea from Luan Guapian, Huangshan Maofeng, Wuai Rock Tea, West Lake Langjing and other places. Before he finished speaking, his waist hurt again. Turning around, he saw Shiwana looking at him with raised eyebrows and angry eyes, with great hatred. She usually drinks this worm tea a lot, and she thinks it tastes really good. She didn't expect that it was actually excreted by worms. It's so disgusting that she wants to vomit. Cai Hongming quickly grabbed her hand. Wife, this is really good stuff. Don't look at it as something bad. It's picky about food, and usually eats Ganoderma lucidum and tea leaves. The food it eats is like tea leaves fermenting in its stomach, and the worm fesses it excretes are equivalent to the cooked tea we buy, so it's nothing at all. Just like silkworm fesses, although it is excreted by silkworms, it is a medicinal silkworm fesses. The principle of our worm tea is the same as silkworm fesses. After hearing Cai Hongming's explanation, Shiwana let him go first and glared at him fiercely, as if to say, "I'll settle the score with you tonight." Jidong and others didn't react much. When they were in the army, they had trained in the primeval forest. At that time, each person could only bring 1 day's rations, but you were required to survive in the forest for half a month or a month. At that time, I was so hungry that I could eat ants, mosses, leaves, grass roots, small insects, lizards, snakes, earthworms and the like crawling on the ground. Compared with those days, eating insect fesses and drinking insect fesses tea are like heaven and earth. To comfort his dear wife, Cai Hongming put the little fat worm on the ground and let it crawl. In fact, what he said about the little fat worm looking for jade was all nonsense, but it was true that it liked good things. Now there are fewer and fewer wild medicinal herbs, and the paradise in the jade tripod is slowly growing under the nourishment of the bright moon essence. He wants to plant some herbs in it, so as not to run around all the time to find wild medicinal herbs for boiling plasters. If all the herbs to be used can be planted in it, then when boiling plasters in the future, not only will there be no need to worry about the lack of wild medicinal herbs, but it can also avoid the pain of running around, so why not do it? He thought that the little fat worm liked to eat Ganoderma lucidum, and it was transformed from Cordyceps sinensis, so it should like to eat herbs. If we let it out, it will surely find the herbs it likes. Even if we don't find the jade, it would be good to find some herbs, so as to save face. The little fat bug moved slowly on the ground. Jidong and the others were bored, so they scattered to look for the jade. Shiwana recovered from her initial shock, and suddenly felt that the little fat bug was cute. The fat body, big head, and big eyes were as cute as they could be. So, she picked up her phone and started taking pictures. Cai Hongming was speechless. Women are creatures that cannot be judged by common sense. She was scared and screamed just now, but she liked them again in a moment. There is nothing to say. In the villa in the city of Hotten, the man in black robe stood respectfully in front of Hassa. It was very late when we went there yesterday, so we didn't chase them, but we found that the riverbed had been contracted by Akabig and started digging there. In order to avoid being discovered, our people retreated. Why is my second uncle there? Hassa asked curiously. I heard that he found jade there. Oh, in this case, things are a bit troublesome. Akabija is no different from others. He has been in Hotten for so long that he knows everything and has some people in the dark. If they chase forward, they will definitely not be able to bypass the riverbed he dug. If they are discovered, a fierce battle will inevitably break out between the two sides. If it is known that he is behind it, things will be serious. Hassa rubbed his brows and thought for a while. I remember there seems to be a village on that river, right? Yes, there is a small village called Kashmir. Then you take your men to the village over there and wait until you see Agila's men and his friends before launching an attack. You must keep them and learn the whereabouts of our people from their mouths. Our warriors cannot just disappear for no reason. Yes, everything is according to your instructions. Go. The man in black robes retreated respectfully. Outside the window, the morning sun exudes its enthusiasm. But Hassa was in a bad mood. He didn't expect that something that he thought was easy to succeed would turn out to be unexpected, and he also lost several of his men. If he didn't find out the truth, he wouldn't be able to explain to his superiors, and he wouldn't be the leader for long. The little fat bug was crawling on the ground, looking left and right with his big eyes. After a while, it seemed to have found something, and crawled forward suddenly. When it reached a place about 8 meters away from the riverbank, the little fat bug stopped crawling and circled there, nodding to Cai Hongming, as if to say that there was something underneath. Did it really find the jade? Cai Hongming raised his eyebrows. The more Shiwana looked at the little fat bug, the cuter it felt, and she rushed over to hug it. But the little fat bug was just scared by her. When it saw her coming, it immediately jumped onto Cai Hongming and disappeared into his clothes. Shiwana glared at Cai Hongming angrily. Cai Hongming gave him an innocent look. What could she do if the little fat bug didn't like her? Since the little fat bug was circling here, there must be something underground. So Cai Hongming took out the shovel he brought and started digging in the ground where it was circling. To be continued. Chapter 43. Strange Jade. On the riverbank, sand and stones were mixed together, making it quite difficult to dig. After digging about 1 meter deep, Cai Hongming did not see anything underneath. He could not help but become suspicious of the little fat worm, so he took it out and put it in the pit. The little fat worm looked around, as if sensing something, and began to circle again, then nodded wildly at the ground in the middle. It seemed that there was really something, so Cai Hongming put it away and continued to dig down. Shiwana saw it and hurriedly asked him to give her the little fat worm. The little fat worm felt scared when she reached out her hand and hurriedly got into Cai Hongming's clothes. Cai Hongming shrugged his shoulders, indicating that he had no choice. Shiwana was so angry that she pouted like a bull, continuing to dig down. When it was about 2 meters deep, it finally got something. Cai Hongming saw that on the wall of the pit, a layer of sand overlapped a layer of pebbles that were smoothed by the river water, and among the pebbles, there were more or less jades. Although they were not big, there were a lot of them. He was so excited that he took a shovel and dug to the side. The original diameter of the pit was only more than 1 meter, but he actually dug it to about 2 meters. He stopped digging to the side until he could not find any more jade. However, he felt that there should be more jade below, so he continued to dig down. In Kunlun Mountain, every year, the melting snow and the spring and summer rain will form mountain torrents that wash down a lot of soil and sand from the mountain, and then be carried by the surging river water and washed downstream. Some were washed to the shore, and over the years, a layer of sand, a layer of stone, and a layer of soil were formed. Many so-called experts say that the Ulan-Kashi River has been dug up and riddled with holes. This has caused the deterioration of the environment in Hotan, which is actually ridiculous. This statement is completely nonsense. They have not investigated and have no idea what the local environment is like. Whether you dig or not, the river is like that, lifeless, and there is no damage to speak of. Moreover, the next year, the mountain torrents caused by the melting snow on the Kunlun Mountains will carry a lot of mud and sand to smooth out the traces of the excavation. In fact, it is no different from before. If the government pays enough attention, it may be possible to repair the Ulan-Kashi River in the urban area by taking the opportunity of jade merchants digging for jade, but this is a useless thing. How can ordinary people do it? Dig down. Cai Hongming harvested some mutton fat jade seed jade. Some are as small as the size of a little finger, but because they were washed by the river and buried in the soil for a long time, they look delicate and warm, white as condensed fat. It is a top-level collection material. For materials like this, the market price is at least 15,000 per gram. At noon, Jidong and his friends who came back from looking for jade were dumbfounded when they saw the jade he dug. There are too many jades. Although some are very small, there are many. Counting them, there are actually more than 30 pieces. This can make a set of jewelry for Shiwana. They are not stupid. Seeing that they can find jade by digging here, after dinner, they each marked a place and buried their heads and dug desperately. Don't mention it, they actually dug it up. Although it's not big, its quality is much better than the materials they found earlier. Cai Hongming saw that they were also digging for jade by the river, so he started digging desperately, as if he was afraid that they would dig away the jade in his pit. That silly look made Shiwana laugh. She was not idle either. In addition to handing water and towels to her husband, she also ran to spy on the enemy, to see what Jidong and his team had harvested. Cai Hongming dug hard and dug up some seed jade. This place seemed to have never been dug before, but there were so many jades. It can be said that God had a good eye and made him a fortune. However, at this time, he had already dug 8 meters deep, and it was also in this season when there was not much water, otherwise the groundwater would have seeped in long ago. He continued to dig down, and suddenly there was a clang sound from below, as if a big stone had been dug up. Not knowing whether it was jade, he hurriedly used his hands to carefully remove the sand and soil on it, and cleaned out the stone. The stone is about the size of an armful, half a meter deep, with some lines on it. It looks no different from ordinary pebbles, except that it is a little better in appearance and feels very warm. Cai Hongming took out a strong flashlight and shone it on the stone. He suddenly discovered that the pebble-like skin on the surface of the stone was very thin. The strong flashlight shone into it. Looking carefully, he could see a white area inside. It was definitely mutton fat jade seed material. Just as he was about to take back the strong flashlight and dig out the mutton fat jade seed material, he suddenly discovered something strange. He felt that the thing inside the stone seemed not to be jade, but water. How could it be water? Cai Hongming felt strange and quickly picked up the flashlight and shone it on the stone. He shook the stone to see if it was an illusion. After careful observation, he found that the stone was indeed shaken, as if it was really water. How could it be water? How could water be inside the stone? It was really strange. For a moment, Cai Hongming was confused. Suddenly, he remembered that the little fat bug was circling around this piece of land just now. It was obvious that it had found something good. Could it be this stone? Thinking in his mind, he found the little fat bug. Shiwana saw that the little fat bug had crawled into his clothes. In fact, he had already put the little fat bug into the cave paradise in the jade tripod when she was not paying attention. When the little fat bug was placed on the stone, for some reason, it was very excited and made a childish sound that I didn't know what it was. It buried its head in the stone and started to chew, but it was obviously useless. At this point, Cai Hongming already understood that this stone was what the little fat bug was looking for. Although he didn't know what it was, it must be a treasure and had to be put away. He looked up and found that his wife was not there, so he put the stone into the cave paradise in the jade tripod. This was to avoid being seen by everyone and making a fuss, especially if Akabig knew about it after returning. He might ask him to sell it to him, which might cause some trouble, so he would better put it away and take it back to study it slowly. Perhaps he dug too deep. As soon as he put a stone into the blessed land in the jade tripod, groundwater suddenly seeped in from below at a very fast speed, flooding a large area in an instant. Cai Hongming saw that it was not good and quickly put away the little fat worm and climbed out of the pit. After a while, the pit he dug was flooded by water. Jidong and his friends who were digging pits to find jade also had this situation. Seeing that something was wrong, they quickly jumped out of the pits one by one. Fortunately, they found it in time and no one was flooded, otherwise it would be very difficult in this cold weather. There were many pits dug in this place, and it was no longer suitable for rest. So, they found a place to stay on the riverbank they had walked through before. At this time, they were no longer in the mood to continue digging for jade, and they all took out their harvests to show off. This time, Cai Hongming undoubtedly dug the most. Not to mention the strange jade material he put into the blessed land in the jade tripod. Even the jade he just dug was enough for him to dominate in front of Jidong and others. He counted them and found that he had dug up 56 pieces of jade, and they were all top grade mutton fat jade seed materials. Although some of them were too small, only the length of a finger joint, they still counted as one piece. To be continued. Chapter 44. Patterned Jade. Shiwana sat next to Cai Hongming, watching him count the jades. Suddenly, she saw a piece of mutton fat jade seed material that seemed a little strange, so she picked it up. This piece of mutton fat jade seed material was milky white, as smooth as mutton fat, and exuded an intoxicating luster under the light, but the only flaw was that there was a piece of yellow soil stain on one side. In a certain environment, jade will be eroded by long-term contact with water, soil and other substances, causing the color of part or all of the jade to change. This is called stain. The common stains of unearthed jade are generally white mist-like water stains, yellow soil stains, black mercury stains, green copper stains, and black and purple corpse stains. This is because there are countless micropores in jade. If it is buried underground or in an old grade for many years, it will be affected by the surrounding environment and will produce stains. In particular, the jade pieces carried by the corpse will be stained by corpse fluid during the decay process, and dark purple spots will appear. This is the so-called corpse stain. If there is red stain on jade, it means that the deceased was mostly tied up alive and then killed with a weapon. The blood that flowed out soaked into the jade, which became a veritable blood stain. Shiwana looked at the stain on the mutton fat jade seed material in her hand and felt that it looked like something, but she couldn't remember it for a while. Suddenly, she remembered that the yellow soil stain on the surface looked like a dancing Tajik girl, right? Looking closely, it looks a bit like herself. She pushed Hongming and handed over the mutton fat jade seed material in her hand. Do you think the pattern on it looks like me? As she said that, she put her hands on her chin and turned her head left and right. Cai Hongming took a look and thought, wow, it really looks like it. Pan Heyman, who was next to him, was sorting out the jade materials he had picked up in front of him. Hearing what Shiwana said, he took a look and saw that it looked like it. Turning around, he suddenly found that there seemed to be a pattern on a piece of mutton fat jade seed material in front of him, so he picked it up to have a look. After a closer look, it looked very much like the Tajik boy who played a tambourine and danced in Shiwana's grandfather's vineyard a while ago. He immediately said to Cai Hongming with disdain, "What's so strange about that? I have one here too. Do you think it looks like the guy who played the tambourine in the vineyard last time?" Cai Hongming took a look and felt that it was indeed very similar. So he took it. He put the two pieces of mutton fat jade together. The two pieces of jade were about the same size. When put together, the pattern on them looked like a Tajik boy playing a tambourine chasing a Tajik girl who was dancing in a gorgeous dress. He also found that the two patterns looked like him and Shiwana. Thinking of this, he took down Pan Heyman's jade. Pan Heyman didn't care. He still had a lot of jade anyway. Cai Hongming took the two pieces of jade and presented them to Shiwana, saying, "Look. Does the pattern on it look like us?" Shiwana took a look and suddenly remembered the grand event in the vineyard that day. That day she was wearing Tajik costumes and dancing in the field. Finally, Hongming also took a hand drum, and like a peacock in heat, he chased around her. "Isn't it just like the pattern on the mutton fat jade? It's really like it. When we go back, ask your second uncle to drill a hole in it. You wear this piece of jade for beating the hand drum, and I wear this piece of jade for dancing. How is it? Not very good. You can't drill a hole in them. You have to keep them well and make them a family heirloom." Shiwana said, and took the two pieces of jade away and put them in the small bags she brought with her. They went out mainly to find jade, but everyone has gained a lot along the way. So Cai Hongming asked Jidong and others to see if they should continue to look for it. Jidong and others didn't think they would find jade. They just came to have fun. They didn't expect to find so much. They were already very satisfied and didn't want to continue looking. After all, they didn't rely on this to make a living. Since no one wanted to look for it anymore, there was no need to stay at night. So they packed up, contacted Akibig to send a car to pick up people and livestock, and rode out on yaks. When they reached the provincial road, it was already dark. They hurriedly drove the livestock onto the container and returned to Hotan. Life in the wild was boring, and there was no way to take a bath. After not taking a bath for a few days, they felt itchy all over their bodies as soon as they returned here and hurried to take a bath. After taking a bath and eating, they gathered together. Akibig was also there. Cai Hongming showed Akibig the jade materials he had picked up. Akibig stared at it, not expecting that he could pick up so many jade materials. But when Pan Heyman and others took out the jade they had picked up, he was no longer staring, but was directly dumbfounded, thinking, when did the jade on the Yulon Kashi River become so much? Could it be that they had found a fish nest like fishing? Oh, no, it was a jade nest. It was really unimaginable. He also handled a lot of jade materials, so he was only surprised for a moment and then returned to normal and began to help Cai Hongming and others identify the jade they found. In the end, he found that the jade materials Cai Hongming picked up were of the best quality, while Jidong and others were relatively poor. Cai Hongming had said earlier that he wanted to make a set of mutton fat jade jewelry for Shiwana, so he gave the jade he and Shiwana had picked up to Akabija, asking him to use the jade to make a set of jewelry for Shiwana, and to carve some jade ornaments for his family to wear, and sell the rest to Akabija. Unexpectedly, he actually made more than 1 million yuan in the end, and he couldn't stop smiling. Others were like him, except for keeping a few pieces of jade to play with or make into jewelry, and sold the rest to Akabija. Everyone made a little money. The least was hundreds of thousands, and the most was Chendashan, who accidentally cut out a super large jade stone. That piece of jade alone was sold for 7 million, plus the ones he picked up, a total of more than 7 million. When he got the money, his mouth never closed, and he was almost splitting with laughter. After a day's rest in Hotan, Cai Hongming and others chartered a plane to leave the next day. Before leaving, Cai Hongming asked Akibig to help find a piece of land at the foot of Kunlun Mountain planning to come here next year to grow roses and make rose wine. The rose water he drank the day before yesterday was so delicious that it was unforgettable after drinking it once. So he wanted to buy a piece of land to grow wild roses and make wine here. He felt that this wine had great development prospects. The land in western Xinjiang is very cheap. As long as you have money to open up wasteland, go to the Land Bureau to apply and prepare a case, and the Land Bureau will demarcate an area for you to open up wasteland. In the early stage of land reclamation, water and electricity fees will be exempted for 3 years. After 3 years, water and electricity fees and fees stipulated by the state and the autonomous region will be paid. If you grow grain crops such as wheat, the state will also give subsidies. The policy is not bad. Moreover, the land in western Xinjiang is not like the desert in Guilin. It is not good without water and electricity. The land here is not bad. There is water if you dig deeper. It is also at the foot of Kunlun Mountain, which is very suitable for growing wild roses. However, the land for land reclamation is all virgin land, so there is no need to think about harvesting in the first few years. If you want to have a harvest, you have to invest a lot of manpower and material resources. Cai Hongming doesn't like this, so he asked Akibig to help find a piece of cultivated land. He wanted to try to see how the rose wine brewed from it would work before talking about other things. Has's men, the black-robed man, waited for 2 days in a small village above Cai Hongming and his men. He found that Cai Hongming and his men had not come up yet. He felt strange, so he sent people to check, only to find that they had left. He couldn't help but feel angry. Then, they started looking for his men, but they couldn't find them, no matter how hard they looked. In the end, they had to give up and think that they were unlucky. To be continued. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 45. Huahua is in trouble. It has to be said that there are always some people in this world who have nothing to do. Liu Yuming is obviously such a person. He is a freelancer. When he has nothing to do, he likes to surf the internet. However, he does not like to chat with people. He only likes to read novels, movies, etc. Sometimes he also uses free satellite images on the internet to see corners he has never been to. After dinner that day, he did not want to watch movies or novels, so he started to use satellite images provided by the internet to see his favorite places. Satellite images are now very good. The minimum distance of 50 meters is no different from that of the local area. If you compare it with some pictures uploaded by netizens, it is basically no different from going there in person. Recently, he has some spare money and he wants to go out for some fresh air. He has never been to the desert, so he wants to use satellite to observe the local situation before deciding whether to go. In the picture, the endless desert is full of endless yellow sand. What you see is just a piece of yellow and you can't see anything at all. So he quickly pulled the picture to see if there is anything to see. Suddenly, he found 2 huge cacti rising straight into the sky in the vast sea of sand, and he couldn't help but click to enlarge it. Only then did he realize that there were not only 2 cacti, but many of them, and there was a towering and majestic Xiangguan behind them. There was a huge lake inside Xiangguan, and rice seemed to be planted by the lake, full of green. There were houses and palm trees scattered around, which looked like an exotic Arab country. Looking more carefully, he found that there were not only cacti, but also yaks, ostriches and other animals. I don't know where it is, but it's so beautiful. I remember that he didn't notice it when he looked at the map before. Thinking to himself, he had the idea of going to take a look. Once this idea came, he couldn't stop. Anyway, he had nothing to do, so he packed up his things the next day and took a plane to his destination. Looking at the map online, a click and a swipe only takes seconds, but in reality, those seconds are hundreds or thousands of kilometers away. After a long journey to Guilin, there was no car from Guilin to the place where he saw the cactus and Xiangguan. So, he hired a car in Guilin. Arriving at Zhengzheng, he found that everything in front of him was completely different from what he saw on the satellite images. It was like, if you don't go to Mount Tay, you can't feel its majesty. If you don't go to the sea, you don't know its breadth. If you don't experience it yourself, it's hard to imagine what you see. Looking at the sturdy yaks, the ostriches looking around with their heads held high, and the giant cacti towering into the sky, Liu Yuming didn't know why. He had a kind of love from the bottom of his heart. Along the way, he kept taking pictures. Even with the consent of Liu Zhang, who was guarding the yaks, he had the opportunity to visit Zhengzheng. After returning, he posted everything he saw on the internet. This world has never lacked people who like things, and new things can always attract everyone's attention. These photos were collected and forwarded by people who liked them, attracting countless eyeballs. Some local TV stations and major websites even put these pictures on the headlines, with titles such as Miracles in the Sea of Sand in the Towering Pass in the Vast Yellow Sand and so on. Zhengzheng became popular, but the location was too remote. After asking Liu Yuming about it and finding out where it was, the reporter immediately lost interest in going there for an interview, so most of them just reposted pictures. It just so happened that a director was planning to shoot a Western-style movie, similar to The God of Wealth Inn and The Dragon Gate Inn. When he saw the towering cactus in the picture, he immediately fell in love with it. Just think about it, if there were two masters standing on the cactus to fight, wouldn't it be very attractive? And the tall city gate happened to be a shot in his movie, so he called and prepared to set up a scene there for filming. However, Cai Hongming didn't know about all this. He and Shiwana got off the plane, took a car to Gilong and got off, and then walked hand in hand on the street, while Jidong and the others took the yak back first. When he got home, Cai Hongming saw that only his father was in the store giving massages to customers. Songnap, Sukancheng, Hongsheng, his mother and others were not there. At this moment, he suddenly heard his mother's roar from behind. "You rotten chicken, you only know how to cause trouble all day long. I should have killed you and eaten you earlier." Then, he heard Yaya sobbing and crying, "Grandma, don't eat Huaha. Huaha is a good chicken, a good chicken." Cai Hongming and Shiwana didn't know what happened, so they walked over. When they arrived at the backyard, they saw a commotion. The big rooster flapped its wings and flew everywhere. Luan Feng chased it with a broom, and Ye held her legs tightly to prevent her from chasing. Cai Hongming found it funny and asked, "Mom, what's wrong with you? What else can I do?" "It's all because of this rotten chicken you raised. When you saw someone bullying Ye, you pecked at them. As a result, you pecked the child's skin and almost broke his bones. You should take it over there so that it won't cause trouble here every day." The big rooster and Huaha have a good relationship and are together almost every day. Animals understand human nature. If you are good to it, it will be good to you too. There was a little brat who teased Huaha because she was pretty. As a result, Huaha was so angry that she asked the big rooster to bite him. The big rooster's beak can even peck through glass. You don't need to think about the result. In the end, the big rooster not only pecked the child's skin, but also almost pecked his bones. After the child and the adults knew about it, they ran to the door to complain, and finally Ma Luanfeng had to pay a sum of money to the family. Although Ye's father Gulixin also paid for this money, it still made her feel uncomfortable, so there was this drama today. "No, don't take Huaha away. Huaha is very good." Ye cried even louder when she heard Ma Luanfeng ask Cai Hongming to take the big rooster away. Shiwana held her in her arms and wiped her tears. This little guy cried so hard that people's hearts almost melted. The big rooster grew bigger and bigger. Now, including the comb on the top of its head, it is almost more than 70 centimeters tall. It is already recognized as the largest rooster in the county. If it was just big, it wouldn't be a problem. The main thing is that this guy is very strong. His sharp claws can easily tear the cardboard box, and his beak is even sharper, which can easily peck through the iron sheet of about 3 millimeters. There are so many people in the county, it would be bad if the chicken went crazy and hurt people. In fact, Cai Hongming had the idea of bringing the big rooster to Zhengzheng a long time ago, but he didn't do it because he saw Ye liked it so much. Now that this happened, he had to take it away. When the big rooster was taken away, Ye cried bitterly, I guess she didn't cry like this even when her parents beat her. Seeing her like this, Cai Hongming couldn't bear it, so he secretly told her to let her father take her to see the big rooster on Sunday, and to see yaks, ostriches, sika deer and big dogs, the black and white twins. Ye heard this, and her little mind turned quickly. Now she has to go to kindergarten from Monday to Friday, and she has no time to play with Huaha. If it is like this, it's fine. Thinking of this, she felt much better, and didn't cry much. However, it was Gulixon's turn to have a headache, because every time she had a holiday, his daughter would ask him to take her to Hongming to see Huaha, sika deer, yaks and other animals, and she had to go. Otherwise the little girl would cry immediately. Helplessly, he could only drive her there, just as if they were going on a picnic. What else could he do? To be continued. Chapter 46. Ripe wolfberries and green vegetables. Oh. This broken chicken crows more accurately than an alarm clock. Liu Zong sat up from the bed, rubbing his hair in annoyance. Ever since Cai Hongming brought the big rooster back, there has not been a peaceful day here. Every morning, it always stands on the roof and crows on time. You have to listen. Even if you close the windows and doors, you can still hear its crows. The sound seems to come from your heart. I don't know how it trained, but its voice is so good. This broken chicken usually crows 3 times. After hearing it 3 times, you won't be sleepy, even if you want to. Liu Zong yawned, got up, brushed his teeth, and washed his face to prepare for exercise. If he felt sleepy, he could just take a nap at noon. After washing his face and coming downstairs, Cai Hongming and Jidong had already started exercising in front of the house, preparing to run. He shook his head slightly, shook his buttocks, and did a muscle stretch, and the group ran quickly. They had to run fast. When the big rooster came, I don't know if its head was stuck in the door. When it saw them running, it actually followed them. It would be fine if they ran slower than them. If they ran faster and were outpaced by it, it would fly to the roof and proudly shout cock-a-doodle-doo loudly. At that time, you would feel that your whole life was despised by a chicken. It would be terrible if people were despised by chickens, so they could only run forward with all their strength. Originally, when they were running, only the black and white evil spirits followed behind. When it came, the little white yak started to follow it, because it was fun, and the little sika deer in the yard also followed curiously. At a glance, it looked like a group of people were racing with animals. It was funny, no matter how you looked at it. This broken chicken, sooner or later, it will be slaughtered and eaten. Liu Zong looked at the big rooster that was far behind and whispered angrily, "Be careful not to be heard by it." Mirren, who were reminded beside him, "This big rooster is amazing. Not only is it smart, but it can also understand human language. Last time, Pan Heyman was unhappy with it and scolded it in person. The big rooster immediately got angry, clucked and pounced on it and started scratching. Fortunately, he covered his face with his hands, otherwise he would have been disfigured, but one of his arms was also scratched and bleeding. It looked very scary. In the end, Cai Hongming came over and stopped it. It stopped. Fortunately, it didn't peck it, otherwise it would be fun. Afterwards, Cai Hongming taught the big rooster a lesson and told it not to hurt people casually. It remembered it. But if someone scolds it again, it will still pounce on you. But it won't scratch you, it will slap you with its wings, which is also very painful. After running and practicing boxing for a while, Cai Hongming returned to the house and found that his wife was still hiding in the quilt, so he quietly walked over and put his hand into the quilt to grab her buttocks. Shiwana had actually woken up, but she just stayed in bed and didn't want to get up. Cai Hongming's hands were icy. When he grabbed her, she shuddered with coldness and got goosebumps all over her body. She couldn't help but pick up the pillow and threw it at him angrily. "Are you looking for death? Get up, lazy pig," Cai Hongming said to his wife through the quilt. "No, I still want to sleep for a while." Shiwana squinted and leaned on Cai Hongming's arms. Seeing that she really didn't want to get up, Cai Hongming had no choice but to eat by himself. Now the largest office building has been renovated, so the cooking place has been moved downstairs of the office building, and everyone eats there every day. Of course, you can cook by yourself, but no one wants to go to the trouble. After dinner, Cai Hongming brought some food to his wife at home, and walked to the backyard. It was late autumn, and there were several light snows. The grass and trees were depressed, and the plants in the backyard were no exception. The lush green flowers and plants withered and withered, and even the leaves of the wild wolfberry tree that was as big as a man's arm slowly turned yellow. However, the fruits hanging on it were actually covered with a layer of white frost after a few light snowfalls. Under the white frost were red fruits the size of a child's fist, like a beautiful woman half holding a pipper and half covering her face, making people want to take a bite. Cai Hongming picked one, wiped the white frost on his clothes, took a bite, and the bright red juice flowed into his mouth, sweet and delicious. Although the wild wolfberry tree is large, it bears very few fruits, only about 20. Perhaps it is the essence of the tree that is condensed together, otherwise it would not be so few and so big. Seeing that the wolfberries are ripe, Cai Hongming picked them all and gave one to everyone in Zhengzheng and kept the others. He planned to take some to pay tribute to his father-in-law, mother-in-law, and grandfather. After delivering the wolfberries, Cai Hongming walked towards the vegetable greenhouse to see how the vegetables were. Unexpectedly, when he was halfway there, he was stopped by Chen Dashan, who came running over. "Brother Hong, I want to go back," Chen Dashan said. Cai Hongming expressed his understanding. "If you don't return to your hometown when you are rich, it's like traveling at night in fine clothes. After making so much money in Hotan, it's time to go back. Are you coming back?" "Of course I'm coming back." Well, Cai Hongming couldn't understand this. With so much money, why don't you start a business and come to this desert to work? He told Chen Dashan about this question. This guy scratched his head stupidly and said that he was not good at doing business. It's better for him to work honestly for him. Besides, the treatment here is so good, the work is easy, and he can be with so many friends. Where can I find such a job? He is a smart man. Cai Hongming patted him on the shoulder and asked him to help find some fresh wild ginseng. When he went back, he planned to plant it in the paradise in the jade tripod. Chen Dashan rolled his eyes and looked at him with contempt. This guy thought that the ginseng in the mountains was his big carrot, so he could have as much as he wanted. Seeing his eyes, Cai Hongming felt a little embarrassed. He had to change his words and said that if there was no ginseng, there would be seeds. Not only ginseng, but also seeds of other medicinal herbs, and living medicinal herbs were needed. Chen Dashan nodded and agreed. After talking to him for a while, Chen Dashan went back to prepare things and said goodbye to his comrades, while Cai Hongming continued to walk towards the vegetable greenhouse. The vegetable greenhouse was built on the original sweet potato land, with a total of more than 200 acres. If it were not all cultivated by machinery, the few people in Zhengzheng would be exhausted. But even so, it was still too busy. Cai Hongming had long wanted to go to the county to call some people to help, but he thought that this place was too far away from the county town, and young people might not be willing to come, and it would be useless for the elderly to come. After all, they are old and weak, so how could they do such hard work? So he urged Jidong to find someone quickly. Jidong had no choice but to call his comrades who wanted to come over, and even shamelessly called his former superior. You have to know that the soldiers from their place are in great demand in various places, and not everyone is willing to come here to farm. Because this is simply a joke to them. Being a security guard in the city is better than farming here. Finally, after much persuasion, he got his superior to agree to let 50 retired soldiers come here. As for whether they want to stay, it depends on their ability. The weather outside is about 6 or 7 degrees now, but the temperature in the greenhouse is kept at more than 20 degrees, which is suitable for vegetable growth. So Cai Hongming felt hot as soon as he entered. He took off his clothes and walked on the ridge of the field and saw rows of coriander, rows of green onions, and rows of garlic, growing well and full of vitality. Every day, he would pour the jade toad liquid condensed by the jade tripod, absorbing the essence of the bright moon into the water tower. After these vegetables absorbed the mixed jade toad liquid in the water tower, they grew much faster than usual and were more verdant. Because there were not many people, Cai Hongming asked Wu Yi, who was familiar with farming, to try to pick some vegetables that were easy to pick and plant, with fewer varieties and more quantities. This was easier to manage and saved him a lot of trouble. However, He also planted some other vegetables for himself to eat. For example, he also planted some vegetables that could be used for pickling, such as mustard greens, cabbage, and radishes. He planned to pickle them himself and store them to save him from having to buy them. Looking at the green vegetables in the shed, Cai Hongming was filled with joy. It seemed that there would be another bumper harvest soon. The days passed quickly, November passed, December came, and the spring festival was approaching in the blink of an eye. The director who planned to shoot a scene with the giant column cactus and the gate of Zhengzheng as the scene finally contacted Cai Hongming after several twists and turns. He planned to come and see the venue today and make plans. Because they were not familiar with the road, they asked Cai Hongming to take them to Giling. It happened that the house near the barbecue stall was recently built and almost finished, so Cai Hongming went there to see if it could be opened during the spring festival. To be continued, Chapter 47 Yuanping. When we arrived at Giling, the director who came to see the scene had not arrived yet, so Cai Hongming went to the barbecue stall to see how the store was decorated. The store on the barbecue stall site finally built 5 floors, like the square antique building of Zhenhe Tower, but the shape is different from Zhenhe Tower. It is like a tower, and it gets smaller as it goes up. This kind of building with only 5 floors can be built very quickly. After the steel frame is poured, the gaps around can be blocked with bricks and roughly decorated in less than a month. Now the store is fully decorated, and some workers are cleaning. As long as the ordered furniture is delivered and some things are bought for the store, it will be almost open for business. If the speed is faster, it should be able to catch up with the good day of the spring festival. Why must the store be opened during the spring festival? Because there are many people during the spring festival. It is a happy time to open a store at that time, and it also brings in a lot of money. Cai Hongming estimated that he would not be able to go back to his hometown in southern Fujian for the spring festival this year. After walking around the building, Cai Hongming felt that the decoration was good. These are all designed by him specially. They are closer to the Northwest style and have an ancient atmosphere. They are very good. After the store opened, he planned to sell some noodles during the day, such as mutton noodles, yak noodles, vermicelli, etc., and the ingredients used would be the ones produced by his own family. This year, he harvested a lot of sweet potatoes and made a lot of vermicelli and rice noodles. He could sell them in the store when the time came. It was a one-stop business of production and sales, and it was a guaranteed profit. He also selected some of the rice to make rice noodles as thick as Giling rice noodles, and planned to sell them in the store. If he could grow wheat and grind it into flour in the future, almost everything sold in the store would be produced by his own family. His idea was to use Zhengzheng as a raw material production base, and then open a store to sell his own products. If he sold sweet potatoes and other things directly to others, it would be too worthless. Coming out of the store, the phone rang, and after answering it, it was the director's assistant calling. He said they had arrived at Giling Station. Cai Hongming drove over there, the modified muscle car. He had been in Giling for so many years. In addition, his father's popularity made it so that ordinary people would not catch him. Besides, if he ran away after being caught, drive faster, the police car might not be able to catch up. When the car arrived at the station, the experienced director Yuanping was inevitably stunned by the car he drove, mainly because his car was too tough. The thick iron sheets nailed with rivets were full of steel will, which made people feel excited. Hello. I'm Cai Hongming, the boss of Zhengzheng. Cai Hongming jumped out of the car and walked to the waiting Yuanping and his group to introduce himself. Hello, I'm Assistant Luo Shengming. This is our director Yuan, and this is screenwriter Healing. The two sides introduced each other and got in the car. It was already noon, and Cai Hongming said, let's go eat something first, and then see if you will go to my place right away, or take a rest first. If you go, it will probably take half a day, and you will have to stay there at night. Director Yuan, what do you think? The assistant looked at Yuanping. It's better to take a rest, it doesn't matter if you take half a day, Yuanping said. It's tiring to fly, especially since they have to change planes twice. After eating, Cai Hongming sent them to the hotel to stay. He found a truck called Hongsheng and Sukancheng and went to the wholesale market in the city. The barbecue restaurant has been renovated. He planned to take advantage of the free time in the afternoon to go to the city to buy some supplies needed for the store, such as boilers, bowls, and chopsticks, disinfection cabinets, etc. This busy work took another afternoon. It was already evening when they returned to Giling and put the things away. Fortunately, because they were preparing to open a store recently, Cai Hongming asked Su Kancheng to recruit a few good families in the county for training. Otherwise, he would be too busy for a while. The next morning, he drove Yuan Ping and his party to Zhejiang. Yuan Ping is a very famous director in China and also very famous internationally. He has filmed and directed many kung fu movies, but has never filmed a pure Western style film. As a man, you always yearn for the heroic spirit of the desert. As long as he is a man, he will inevitably like the vastness and grandeur of the Western desert. Yuan Ping is no exception, so he plans to shoot a Western style martial arts movie this time. Now the funds are basically in place, the script is also available, the actors are almost settled, and the scenes are almost selected. However, when he saw the towering giant cactus outside the gate of Zhejiang, he had other thoughts, so he took the screenwriter to have a look in his busy schedule. Now he is well known in the entertainment industry and belongs to the kind of person who can call the wind and rain. He has a name and money. He is no longer the kind of person who just makes a movie to make money. Now he either doesn't shoot or shoots a boutique, otherwise he will not live up to his reputation. After a long journey of silence, he arrived at Zhejiang. Yuan Ping narrowed his eyes when he saw the tall yaks. The screenwriter's eyes lit up and asked, "Boss K, can this yak be ridden?" "The bigger ones can, but the small ones are not. Go down and take a walk," Yuan Ping said. Cai Hongming stopped the car, got out of the car together, and walked forward slowly. Yuan Ping walked and looked, and no one knew what he was thinking. The editor ran to the side of the yak herd and looked carefully, and took out a notebook to write down, and no one knew what he was writing down. Slowly walking to the giant column cactus, Yuan Ping and the screenwriter looked at each other, and a gleam of light burst out in their eyes, and their surprise was overflowing. They walked back and forth in the cactus bushes several times before walking forward. Compared with the cactus, the city gate felt a little lighter. When entering, Cai Hongming specifically reminded, "We have a rule here. You can't smoke when you go in, and you can't urinate or spit anywhere, so as not to pollute the air inside." Yuan Ping is a person who never leaves his cigar. When he heard this, his eyes widened. The assistant asked next to him if he could be more lenient. Cai Hongming shook his head. This is a dead rule, and no one is exempt. He doesn't want to make Zhejiang a mess. Even if it becomes a tourist resort in the future, this rule cannot be abolished. Anyway, it was just a short visit, so Yuan Ping resisted the urge to put out his cigar. The outside and inside of the city gate of Zhejiang are two different worlds. One is full of yellow sand, and the other is full of green. Even in this bleak season, you can see the lush green grass growing in the fields. "Boss K, are you planting rice in this field?" the screenwriter asked, pointing to the rice field with only a few rice heads left. "Well." Cai Hongming nodded. The screenwriter and Yuan Ping looked at each other, and it was unknown what they were communicating. At this time, Liu Zhang came over riding on the cured big yak. The huge size matched his chubby figure, which really complemented each other. This guy even paid someone to make a set of antique armor, and asked Liu to weld a pair of pumpkin hammers for him with iron sheets. Sitting on it, waving the pumpkin hammers, he looked like an ancient tiger warrior. "Brother Zhang, where are you going?" Cai Hongming called. "Let's go for a walk," Liu Zhang said proudly, holding up a bunch of metal pumpkin hammers with his chest puffed out. Wearing that plastic armor, he really looked like that. "By the way, bring my car back." "Yeah. This yak is really big," Yuan Ping and his assistant said in amazement as they looked at the yak he was riding. "This is the biggest one we have here." As they walked and talked, the black and white twins, who had already heard Cai Hongming's voice, came running from a distance, opening their mouths wide, and their sharp teeth flashed a little bit of light in the sun, scaring Yuan Ping and others to hide behind them. "It's okay, it won't bite," Cai Hongming said hurriedly. The black and white twins ran over and pounced on him directly, stretching out their big tongues and licking him desperately. Cai Hongming pushed its head aside in disgust to avoid being washed by its saliva. The black and white twins didn't mind. After hugging Cai Hongming, they stood by and wagged their tails desperately, like a pug, but a little bigger. Now it is over 1 year old, with a shoulder height of nearly 1 meter and a length of about 2 meters. It looks like a lion, but the black and white stripes and the pair of panda eyes make it look funny, without the majesty of a lion. The group walked slowly, and the Xiangli road was lush green, with the bleakness of late autumn. The rice fields next to it were empty, but if you think about it, it is not difficult to imagine the charming scenery of the rolling rice waves in season. Along the way, Yuanping saw everything he wanted to see, and even some things he had never thought of. The screenwriter was also in a mess. He felt that the perfect movie script seemed to need to be considered, so he asked Cai Hongming for a room, and locked himself in with Yuanping to discuss it together. To be continued. Chapter 48. Rental of venue. 8th Master, smoking is not allowed here. Points novel seeing Yuanping pick up the cigar to light it, Luo Shengming hurriedly reminded him. Yuanping frowned, but he had no choice but to put away the cigar. 8th Master, I just looked and found that what we think is still too superficial. In fact, we can change from riding horses to riding yaks. When a group of soldiers riding yaks charge in the desert, the scene must be very spectacular. And the fat man I saw just now, I think his image is very suitable for the role of the military marquis's follower in our play. I can let him play it, but I don't know if he is willing. The movie that Yuanping is going to shoot this time is a film that combines history and martial arts. It tells the story of a Tang princess marrying a Ruer. After the Turks learned the news, they did not want the Tang dynasty to marry the Ruer, so they ambushed the desert in where the wedding team stayed on the way, waiting for an opportunity to assassinate. So the two sides launched a fierce struggle in the inn and even in the desert. Some of the big scenes require horses, but the screenwriter felt that yaks were also good after seeing them. Besides, people are tired of watching horses now and have a little aesthetic fatigue. If they suddenly see a group of fierce yak troops coming towards them, the scene should be very shocking and very topical. The two chatted indoors for a while until almost night. It was too late to go back, so they stayed in Zhengzheng. In the evening, Cai Hongming specially caught a fat sturgeon to entertain them. These sturgeons have been raised in the lake for nearly a year, and they are extremely fat and full of size. Cai Hongming took a look. It feels that those sturgeons with higher years should be able to lay eggs next year, and then they can be taken out and made into sturgeon roe. After dinner, Yuanping asked his assistant to invite Cai Hongming to the room to discuss the rental of the venue. In his and the screenwriter's ideas, it may not only be some of the current scenes that will be used, but also need to be rearranged. Boss K, our director Yuan wants to use your location to film a movie. Is it convenient for you? Assistant Luo Shengming asked on behalf of Yuanping. If you are just shooting scenes, it doesn't matter. Maybe we need to move some things. Our director Yuan saw that there are fewer cacti outside and wants to rearrange them. We need to move other trees. This will cost money. You should know that it is not easy to plant a tree in the desert. Not only does it require water, but it also costs a lot of manpower and material resources. I won't ask you for more money. The cost of a tree is 50 yuan. You can move as many as you want. If you want cacti, I can also help you contact them. There are cacti from 1 meter to 5 meters long. Each one only costs tens to hundreds of yuan. The shipping cost is only 10,000 or 20,000 yuan. The price is very cheap. It is said that making movies is a lot of money, so Cai Hongming naturally wants to make a fortune, but he didn't dare to overcharge them. He just gave a reasonable price. A tree that originally only cost 15 yuan only cost them 50 yuan. Luo Shengming listened and looked at Yuanping. Yuanping nodded. This little money is nothing. So Luo Shengming asked again, I wonder if Mr. K can help us contact some big yaks that can be ridden. We may need a batch when we shoot, but we only need to rent them for a period of time, and we don't need to buy them. This is very simple. I have a few friends who are in this business. Tell me how much you want in advance, and I will ask them to prepare it. You can settle the price with them when the time comes. I don't think it will cost much. It's just some livestock feed and shipping costs. After discussing it, Yuanping felt very satisfied, and the matter of renting the venue and yaks was settled. In addition, the screenwriter Healing asked Cai Hongming if Liu Zhang was willing to go to the shooting and wanted to invite him to play a supporting role. In a few days, he would earn about 100,000 yuan. Cai Hongming agreed on behalf of Liu Zhang without thinking, because he was idle here anyway. By the way, can you let our crew stay here for a while? Of course, we will pay. Of course, we can, but you have to follow the rules, which are the ones I told you before. If you can follow them, there will be no problem. Yuan Ping and others felt annoyed when they heard this. There were few non-smokers in the crew, and it would be more painful for them to follow this rule than to be killed. Seeing their faces, Cai Hongming knew that it was a bit difficult, but this rule was set in stone, and it would be the same for anyone to stay. However, he kindly gave them an idea. In fact, you don't have to stay here. You can set up a tent outside, and then get some water from me. You can still live comfortably there. Yuan Ping thought about it, and had to do it this way. As a director of a big production, there is undoubtedly a lot of things to do. So they left again early the next morning. This time, Cai Hongming took them to Ginong again. He also went to see the new store, and bought some things needed for the store. After getting ready, he waited for the spring festival to open. The new name of the barbecue store has been chosen, called Zhou Barbecue Noodle Vermicelli Shop. Although the name is a bit long, it lists all the products that the store will sell, making it clear at a glance. Cai Hongming asked his grandfather to help write the name of the store. In the past, his grandfather's generation used brushes to prescribe medicine for people, so his grandfather's calligraphy is very good, not inferior to those so-called masters. His father also writes well, but compared with his grandfather, he is like a dragon and a python. Cai Hongming can write, but that calligraphy, it's better not to mention it. Cai Hongming decided that this new barbecue store would be the headquarters of his future barbecue chain stores. He planned to open this one in the northwest, because there are too many barbecues here, and noodles are not rare, so he plans to open the next store in the south. Although there are barbecues there, I have never heard of yak beef. In the future, I can also sell ostrich meat, plus the vermicelli and rice noodles made from sweet potatoes and rice, which can be said to be the specialty products of the store, unique in the world, and the business should be good by then. After seeing off Yuan Heping and his party, Cai Hongming threw himself into the busy work of the new store. He hoped to clean up the new store before the 20th day of the 12th lunar month, and also recruit more staff, otherwise the current barbecue stall staff would not be enough. The days passed in this busyness. After working in the new store for a few days, Cai Hongming returned to Zhou. The new year is coming soon, and he plans to let Jidong and others go back into batches. Now that this place is so big, it can't be left unattended. Over in the vegetable greenhouse, because they only grow one season, the vegetables in it have basically been sold out, leaving only some radishes and vegetables for their own use. Because they caught up with the time and they were off-season vegetables, the price of their vegetables this season was very good. This season alone, Cai Hongming made more than 5 million. The most profitable thing is the green onion, perhaps because the jade liquid is mixed with water for irrigation and soil fertilizer. The green onion grows big and white, and is very tender. If you bend it gently with your hands, it will break immediately, and a stream of milky white scallion oil will flow out, which makes people's appetites wet. Therefore, the wholesaler gave Cai Hongming a reasonable price for the scallions he planted, 10 yuan per kilogram, and it was said that they would be transported to Beijing and Shenzhen to sell. In the past, because he found it troublesome, he only planted vegetables that were easier to handle, and scallions and garlic were the most planted. This time, he earned almost 3 million from scallions alone. Cai Hongming was so happy that he gave Jidong and his friends a big red envelope of 50,000 yuan each, and allowed them to take the things they produced at home back home for the new year. With this income, Cai Hongming felt that he was more justified, otherwise he would worry about whether he could still pay his employees' salaries. Now with this money and the rest, he can not only have a good year, but also plan the development plan for next year. He actually wanted to open a barbecue restaurant in Jiangnan first, but unfortunately he couldn't afford this little money now, so he could only do it slowly. Question mark? Zia Haokungang's parents had passed away long ago, and his wife Doako was a Tibetan who followed the Tibetan calendar and did not celebrate the Han Chinese New Year at all, so the family stayed in Zhengzheng. When Cai Hongming went to the county, he bought a big fluffy bear for the lovely Gaga. As soon as he came back, he carried him to his home. Gaga, Gaga, come out quickly, see what your uncle bought for you? Cai Hongming shouted as soon as he entered the door. When Zia Haokungang saw him coming, he quickly invited him into the house. After several months of treatment, his spine gradually became stronger. Instead of just lying in bed, Cai Hongming taught him a method of practicing qi, asking him to breathe in and out facing the sun in the morning to exercise his muscles and bones, and then taught his wife to massage him every night. As long as he persisted for a period of time, with the help of his plaster, he should be able to recover. Zia Haokungang was so grateful to him that he could not express it in words. To use an old saying, the grace of rebirth is beyond repayment. So he planned to stay here, to work for him after his injury healed. After this lesson, he no longer dared to drive. No matter how much money he made, it was meaningless, as long as his family lived in peace. To be continued. Chapter 49. Sandworms. Gaga ran out when she heard Cai Hongming's voice. Actually, she didn't like people calling her Gaga anymore, because Shiwana said that this name sounded like a boy's, so she gave her another nickname, Jingjing. But Cai Hongming ignored it and always called her Gaga, which made her very unhappy. It's just that he always brought good things to her, such as chocolate, dolls, candies, jellies, and many other things, which made it difficult for her to choose and helpless. But later she also thought it over. Let him call her if he likes. Anyway, it won't hurt, and receiving good gifts is the serious matter. As soon as she came out, she saw the big bear in Cai Hongming's hand, and immediately jumped over happily, and hugged it tightly, laughing so hard that her eyes disappeared. Seeing her laugh, Cai Hongming also laughed happily. There is a saying in the past that poor children grow up early, which does not mean that children from poor families are particularly capable, but that children from poor families understand that every penny is hard-earned, and how to live. Perhaps, for them, this is far from living, but survival. Only by surviving can we talk about enjoying life. When Zia Haokungang was still driving, his family lived a pretty good life, but since he had an accident, the family collapsed. In order to treat his illness, Doako even sold the family's house. The family's life went from being rich to being poor, and Gaga also changed from a little princess to a Cinderella. When he had money before, Zia Haokungang bought a computer for Gaga to play with. She often sang and played on the internet show, and it was unexpected that many people supported her. During the time when Zia Haokungang was hospitalized due to a car accident and his family became poor, the money Gaga earned from singing and playing on the internet became the only source of income for the family. For this, Zia Haokungang often blamed himself. This hurt his self-esteem as a man, a family pillar, and a father. But he had no choice. He once thought about whether to die to avoid dragging down his wife and children. But in the end he gave up this idea, not because he was afraid of death, but because this family needed him. Although he was lying, as long as he was still here, he was the pillar of this family. Beep gurgle suddenly. A ringing sound came from the hall. It was Gaga's cell phone ringing. Gaga listened, took out her pink mini phone from her pocket, and took a look, and immediately said to Zia Haokungang happily, "Dad, I made a lot of money again." At this moment, Zia Haokungang didn't know what was going on. He just felt the tears in his eyes gushing out, but he didn't dare to let them fall. He is a father, a strong father. He doesn't want people to see his weak side. To be honest, it is undoubtedly a very self-esteem damaging and ironic thing for a man of 7 feet to be supported by his wife and daughter. But fortunately, this kind of day will pass. Zia Haokungang turned his head, secretly wiped the tears from his eyes, and smiled. Gaga is great. Yeah, Gaga is the best. Gaga raised his chin proudly and suddenly remembered that he was still singing in the showroom and hurried back to the house. After leaving Zia Haokungang's house, Cai Hongming rode the golden yak and walked out slowly. The cold winter was originally bleak, But Zidushenjing is located in the valley, with green mountains behind it, hillsides on both sides, and a city gate in front. The wind can't blow in, so it's much hotter inside than outside, and you can even see some lush green grass. The golden yak walked slowly on the road beside the hillside. Cai Hongming's body rose and fell with the movement of the golden yak, leisurely and indifferent. He likes this kind of life very much. In fact, what he likes most is the lazy days of playing when full, playing when tired, and eating rice bugs when woke up. Unfortunately, it was not what he wanted. His mother probably did not allow him to do so, so he later went to sell barbecue. But he was still a lazy guy at heart. The fragrant pear trees on the roadside had long since withered, leaving only bare branches, but the branches and leaves of the palm trees by the Shengui Lake were still green. I don't know if the dragon turtle in the Shengui Lake is afraid of people. It rarely comes out and only appears at night. Most of the rest of the time, it hides in the lake. Even so, it was discovered by Jidong and his friends. But apart from the initial curiosity, they didn't seem to feel anything, and didn't make a fuss. This may be because they saw a lot of strange things when they were in the army. But Cai Hongming still carefully told them not to tell others, so as not to attract reporters and cause trouble. Those so-called reporters can use large page headlines to report a rooster laying eggs. If a dragon turtle is found, who knows what will happen? So it's better to be careful. Cai Hongming smiled when he came outside and saw the fat and strong yaks and fat ostriches. He had been raising them for nearly a year, and it was finally worth it. However, the yaks and ostriches cannot be sold now because they are too small. They need to be raised for another year before they can be sold. The same goes for the ostriches. He jumped off the golden yak, stepped on the soft sand, and walked forward. In the distance was the boundless desert, with sand dunes undulating like waves, full of infinite mystery. Whenever he saw this vast sea of sand, he always felt a kind of throbbing in his heart for no reason. It was a speechless feeling. The white jade scorpion came out from nowhere, holding a fat insect in its claws, and crawling to Cai Hongming to ask for credit. He didn't know what was going on, but its appearance changed frequently, from the earliest dead white color to crystal, and then to white jade. Now the white jade color has disappeared, and it has become a shell-like black jade, with only a tuft of white in the middle of the back, which looks like a skull. It seems that it can no longer be called the white jade scorpion, but the black jade scorpion. Cai Hongming looked at the insects caught by the black jade scorpion, and he swore that he had never seen such a big insect. The insect was like a young bee pupa, but it was very big, about 20 centimeters long, slightly fat in the middle, and pointed at both ends. I don't know what it caught this insect for. Seeing that Cai Hongming didn't understand, the black jade scorpion bit the insect and ate it up in a few bites. Can this be eaten? Cai Hongming asked in confusion. When the black jade scorpion heard his words, it immediately shook its tail and nodded wildly. Cai Hongming knew that insects could be eaten, and he had eaten them before. For example, silkworm pupae, bee pupae, bamboo worms, sugarcane worms, and a kind of large green worms on a tree. These insects tasted good after being fried and sprinkled with pepper and salt. But he didn't expect that the big insects brought by the black jade scorpion could also be eaten, and he didn't know where they were caught. So he asked the black jade scorpion to take him to the place where the insects were caught. As the black jade scorpion climbed over several sand dunes, it came to a shady sand slope. The black jade scorpion went into the sand slope, and soon, it caught a fat insect. It seemed to be this place. He used his mobile phone to locate it, and asked the black jade scorpion to catch a few more insects, and then walked back. He wanted to go back and process it, to see how the insect tasted, and then decide whether to develop breeding. Chapter 50 tastes good. The most classic and tasty way to cook worms is to fry them. Other methods, such as steaming, boiling, frying, braising, and braising, will not taste good if they are not fried. Because only by frying can the protein and fragrance in the worms be forced out. The worms were caught by the black jade scorpion from the desert, so they are naturally sandworms. In the coastal areas of the south, there is also a kind of sea worm called sandworm, which is also known as sea intestines and sea intestines. It has the function of nourishing yin and reducing fire. clearing the lungs and replenishing deficiency. Whether it is fried, deep fried, boiled, or stewed, it tastes good. However, the sandworms in the desert are completely different from the sandworms on the seaside, but they have the same name. Generally speaking, there is more or less mucus on the underground worms, but there is no mucus on the sandworms. Instead, they are like bee pupae, very clean. Cai Hongming washed the sandworms caught by the black jade scorpion, and found a wire to stab the worms' butts. Things like this are mostly rectal. In order to prevent sand or other impurities from existing in the stomach, it is necessary to use something to clean out the debris in her body to avoid uncleanness. After cleaning the sandworms, Cai Hongming thought about how to cook them. Even if it is fried, there are several ways. For example, wrap it with something and fry it, marinate it and fry it, or fry it directly. Cai Hongming has never done this before. After thinking about it, he fried several sandworms in several ways. The first is to fry it directly. It has no taste when fried like this, but after frying, you can sprinkle salt, pepper salt, or add some chili powder according to your preference, so that it tastes good. The second is to fry it with batter. First, scald the sandworms with hot water, then mix them with egg yolk and cornstarch, and then put them in a frying pan. The fried sandworms are golden, and look very beautiful. After frying, stir fry them with salted egg yolks. The fried tasteless golden sandworms are infused with the taste of salted egg yolks when frying, and they taste salty, fragrant, crispy, and very delicious. It is best to choose domestic eggs for salted egg yolks. This kind of salted egg yolk is large, yellow and has no fishy smell. It is like golden fine sand when it is steamed and crushed in a steamer. The third type is pickled and fried. In fact, it is not pickled. It is stewed and flavored. The sandworms are scalded with boiling water and then cooled with cold water. Then they are stewed in brine with various spices. After the brine is flavored, they are taken out and dried, and a layer of honey is brushed on them. There are also ways to save money by using syrup. After brushing, they are put into the oil pan and deep fried over low heat. Fry until the surface is crispy and red. Although there are only a few worms, it is very troublesome to make. When all are fried, it is already dinner time. So, Cai Hongming brought it to the cafeteria for everyone to taste. In order to test whether the worms are edible, he specially picked up a few pieces for the big rooster and the black and white double evil spirits after frying. Unexpectedly, the two guys were greedy for the taste of this thing after eating it, and surrounded him, and refused to leave. Cai Hongming was amused. Now everyone in Zhou is eating in the cafeteria. It looks like a big family, and is very lively. Cai Hongming put the fried sandworms on the table, and said that he would treat everyone to delicious food and let them taste it. I don't know if it's because of the quality of the meat, or because he made this dish really well, but everyone gave a thumbs up after eating it. Someone asked what this was. He didn't dare to say it was sandworms, fearing that they would have no appetite to eat, so he lied, and said it was pig intestines. Shiwana was still working at home, and didn't come to eat. Cai Hongming ordered food, and took the sandworm meat he left home, to eat with his wife. When she was studying, Shiwana opened an online store with several sisters, specializing in overseas purchasing for others to make money. Later, when the business grew, they set up a company specializing in overseas trade. When she was in Shenzhen before, everything in the company was managed by her and several sisters. Now that she is married to Cai Hongming, she is far away from Shenzhen and has not been there. Usually, she just relies on the computer to communicate with her sisters for remote management. The company's affairs plus Cai Hongming's accounts, so sometimes she is also very busy. It was also because of Shiwana, a good wife, or else the salary alone would be enough to give Cai Hongming a headache. When he got home, he put the food on the table, took out the love soup he had cooked, and called his wife to eat. Shiwana drank a bowl of thick fish soup, licked her lips, and felt sweet in her heart. After marrying Cai Hongming, she envied so many good sisters who were still working hard. They said that they got married too early and had no freedom or private life. In fact, they were full of envy and jealousy. Where could they find someone who could make money, cook, and love her? Come, try my cooking. Cai Hongming picked up a piece of fried and crispy sandworm meat and put it in Shiwana's mouth. Shiwana chewed it, squinted her eyes and praised, "It's delicious." Cai Hongming had never eaten sandworms until now. After hearing so many people say it was delicious, he also picked up a piece and put it in his mouth. After chewing it a little, he was stunned. This meat, this taste, is more delicious and crispy than any meat he has ever eaten, with a unique fresh sweetness. It is so delicious. It seems to have great development prospects. He wants to catch some sandworms tomorrow to raise them. Perhaps it is because the sandworm meat is delicious. Shiwana picked it up again and again. Seeing that she likes it so much, Cai Hongming decided not to tell her that it is sandworm meat. Otherwise it is estimated that she will kill her husband, which is inhumane. After dinner, the two snuggled up to each other and sat on the sofa to watch TV. The show was the best of China too. Cai Hongming has not watched the first episode, but he felt that the second episode was not bad. At least there was a beautiful woman. When seeing a couple leading their dogs to perform, Cai Hongming's heart moved, and he said to Shiwana, "Wife, what do you think about us taking the black and white demons to play? They can bark. Can the little demon bark? Just train them." Cai Hongming planned to train the black and white demons, as well as the big rooster and the black jade scorpion, and planned to let them sing together. If they can be trained well, they will probably be the most outstanding guys on the stage, but they should not be called outstanding Chinese, but outstanding Chinese beasts. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. The Black Knight aroused Cai Hongming's restless heart, and his hands began to knead Shiwana's majestic breasts in an unruly manner. Shiwana scolded him angrily. Cai Hongming responded casually, but his hands were not vague. After a while, Shiwana was teased by him, and her nose was sweating, and her passion was aroused. Cai Hongming could no longer bear it, tore off his disguise, revealing his wolf nature, and pressed her on the soft sofa to have sex. At this moment, Shiwana felt like a lone boat floating in the vast ocean. The waves of seawater rushed over, making her heart startled, and ups and downs. The raging waves, the violent winds, the thunder and lightning, everything was like mad bees and butterflies kneading the heart of a flower, making people not want to, but unable to stop. After 6, the two hugged each other tightly to watch TV, but they were still connected from front to back. The TV was still playing, but the two people's hearts did not seem to be on it. Cai Hongming hugged Yiren, lowered his head, and kissed every inch of skin, gently tapped his hands from bottom to top, grabbing that beautiful face, and kissed wildly. The vagina swelled and bloomed again. After several 6, Shiwana was no longer able to enjoy it, and quickly held down Cai Hongming, who still wanted to mess around. Seeing that he was still unwilling, she quickly shifted his sight and said, "Mom asked me to find time to go to the hospital for a checkup." "Check what?" Cai Hongming asked curiously. "We have been married for so long, but have no children. She is afraid that there will be problems." Hearing her words, Cai Hongming's face suddenly became strange. Young people always have a restless heart. When he was in junior high school, he began to have a strong interest in the opposite sex. At that time, everyone was passing around some pornographic books, and he was no exception. He was deeply fascinated by them. Once when he was at a used bookstall, he saw a book about the art of sex. After reading it, he did it, such as the little brother sauna, the breath holding back, and the practice was a mess. I don't know if it really works. Anyway, sometimes it is so long that it can't be pulled down, even if a small stone is hung. Therefore, under normal circumstances, it is difficult for him to ejaculate. He has now entered the dark power, and he also thinks that he has the opportunity to advance to the peak of the transformation realm. It is best for martial artists to be virgins, so that they can practice to the highest level. Therefore, now when he feels that his essence is about to be discharged during 6, he will take a breath and hold it back. In other words, from marriage to now, he has never planted seeds in his wife. No wonder they have no children. Besides, he felt that they were still young, and it didn't matter whether they had children or not, but he didn't expect his mother to be anxious. "Do you want a child very much?" "Yes, it would be fun to have a child." Shiwana nodded. Cai Hongming was speechless for this answer. "Yes, I promise you will have a child in a few months," Cai Hongming said with a sly smile. "Really?" "Yes." With that, Cai Hongming hugged Shiwana and started to act ridiculous again. This time, as she wished, he left seeds. The next day, Cai Hongming drove a four-wheeled motorcycle to the place where the black jade scorpion caught the sandworm. His four-wheeled motorcycle was modified with a bucket at the back to carry things. When he arrived at the place, he got off the car with a shovel and dustpan and started digging in the sand where the black jade scorpion caught the sandworm. The black jade scorpion also helped beside him. In just a moment, Cai Hongming shoveled away the thick layer of yellow sand on the top. I don't know what this place was originally used for. There was actually a layer of loose and fertile black soil underneath. He saw a sandworm poking out of the loose soil and moving, so he took the shovel and shoveled it into the dustbin along with the soil. Sandworms grow in this place, there must be soil, so it is better to take the soil back to raise them. He and the black jade scorpion caught more than a dozen fat sandworms in just a few moments. A dozen is definitely not enough, so Cai Hongming continued to dig down with the shovel. After digging for a while, he found that the black soil in this place was only about 10 square meters, and only in the fertile black soil were there sandworms. The rest of the place was covered with yellow sand. Cai Hongming looked at it and was very surprised. The shovel slowly dug a hole in the fertile black soil. Suddenly, he found that there seemed to be something growing on the edge of the hole, and he quickly took the shovel to dig it out. To be continued. Chapter 51. Ganoderma lucidum. The vast sea of sand was endless, with only the sound of the whistling wind. Cai Hongming took a shovel and dug in the fertile black soil of about 10 square meters. After digging for a while, he finally found something in the soil. It was a thing with a diameter of about half a meter and a height of about 80 centimeters. It had no roots, like the fleshy stem of the king oyster mushroom. It could bounce back when poked with the hand. Cai Hongming cleaned it carefully and found that the big thing in front of him seemed to be the legendary meat Ganoderma, also known as Tesu. According to the Shennon's herbal classic, Ganoderma lucidum is non-toxic, replenishes the middle, benefits the essence and ki, increases wisdom, treats chest knots, and long-term use makes the body light and not old. The classic of mountains and seas calls Tesu visual meat, gathering meat, Tesu and sealing, and believes that, after eating it all, it will regenerate as before, and eat piece after piece. The Compendium of Materia Medica calls it visual meat and meat Ganoderma, and puts it in the vegetable section Ganoderma category. It is said that it is attached to a large stone, with a head and a tail, and is a living thing. The red one is like coral, the white one is like fat, the black one is like lacquer, the green one is like emerald feathers, and the yellow one is like purple gold. They are all bright and clear like ice. Eating it for a long time can make you light and immortal, and prolong your life. It is regarded as the best in this sutra. Cai Hongming had seen reports about meat Ganoderma before, and had also learned about it. He felt that the so-called meat Ganoderma should be a kind of fungus, because everything on the meat Ganoderma meets all the characteristics of meat fungus. According to relevant research, Tesu should be the fourth form of life in nature, that is not plant, animal, or fungus. It is a large slime mold complex containing special amino acids. However, its cell structure cannot be observed under a microscope, so the scientific community is also very curious about this thing. Some people have been studying it, but unfortunately, they have never found out the reason. Cai Hongming has always been very interested in this thing, and he didn't expect to find one here. This thing cannot be seen by others, so he put the meat Ganoderma into the cave paradise in the jade tripod. When he came to dig sandworms, he didn't know that the land with sandworms was only 10 square meters. Now that he knew, he called Jidong and asked them to drive over and dig up all the black soil in this land. Even if he didn't raise sandworms, this black soil would be very good for fertilizing the land. After digging up all the black soil in this land, he marked out an area in the corner of the greenhouse for raising sandworms. But 10 square meters was still too small, so he referred to the method of feeding earthworms on the internet. Fermented pig and cow manure with straw and vegetable leaves into fertile black soil, and placed it next to the black soil for raising sandworms to see if it could be used to raise sandworms. Strangely, after a few days, he went to take a look, and found that not only was there no sandworm in this newly baked fertile soil, Even the sandworms that originally lived in the black soil became soft and looked like they were about to die. Could something have gone wrong? Cai Hongming was puzzled. The soil was the same. It was just moved to a different place. Could this not work? It was impossible. Suddenly, he remembered that there was Ganoderma lucidum buried in the original black soil. Was it because there was no Ganoderma lucidum? It is said that there are some ingredients in the meat Ganoderma that cannot be proven by science. Could it be that these ingredients are feeding the sandworms? Maybe there is this possibility. Otherwise, the sandworms here would not be so fat. After thinking about it, Cai Hongming took out the meat Ganoderma in the cave paradise in the jade tripod and buried it in the black soil. It was also strange. After burying it for 2 days, he came to see and found that the sandworms had become energetic. They even drilled into his fertile soil to find food. It seems that this meat Ganoderma is really a bit magical. He once read a report saying that the meat cut from the meat Ganoderma can grow by itself and form another independent meat Ganoderma. So, he cut a piece of meat from the huge meat Ganoderma and put it into the cave paradise in the jade tripod to cultivate. See if it is true. Unexpectedly, it really happened. After a few days, the wound on the meat Ganoderma in the cave paradise in the jade tripod recovered and formed an independent meat Ganoderma, but it was very small. Seeing such a miracle, he cut a few pieces of meat from the original Ganoderma lucidum and put them into the cave paradise in the jade tripod for cultivation. After a while, he found that Ganoderma lucidum could actually absorb the jade toad liquid. After cutting the Ganoderma lucidum, as long as you put some jade toad liquid in it for it to absorb, the wound on the Ganoderma lucidum will recover quickly, but the cut part will be forever less. But only after using the jade toad liquid for a while, the cut part of the Ganoderma lucidum will slowly grow again. The Ganoderma lucidum in the cave paradise in the jade tripod grows even faster because of the nourishment of spiritual energy and slowly grows from the original fist size to the size of a palm. Time passed unknowingly, and soon it was the spring festival. Cai Hongming's store in Gansu has been prepared and can be opened at any time. Considering that there are many people during the spring festival, he opened the day before the spring festival, but he didn't sell anything. He entertained relatives and friends in the store to avoid being too busy to greet friends on the first day of the new year. There are many people during the spring festival, but he didn't expect there would be so many. Because it was the spring festival holiday, and because he built an antique building, everyone came to see the novelty and try the things sold in the newly opened store. So there were so many people that the staff originally hired by the store could not handle it at all. In the end, even Cai Hongming and Shiwana went down to serve dishes. Being busy also means making money. When it was time to settle the bill in the evening, Shiwana found that the store had earned more than 200,000 yuan in the account just for this day. Cai Hongming was stunned. You know, he used to work hard to sell barbecue, and the highest was only about 10,000 yuan. Unexpectedly, he sold more than 300,000 yuan in one day today. The things in the store are almost all self-made. After deducting labor and miscellaneous expenses, there is at least a net income of more than 100,000 yuan. It is really profitable. However, he also notes that this phenomenon is only temporary. After all, it is the spring festival. During the spring festival holiday, everyone ran out to play, which caused this scene. After the spring festival, the business will not be so good. It is a smile to have a turnover of 100,000 yuan a day. After all, Gansu is just a small county. In the next few days, the business in the store was very good, with at least 200,000 yuan. This phenomenon slowly disappeared after the 7-day spring festival holiday. Although the money earned during the spring festival was high, it was also hard work. Cai Hongming was so tired that he wanted to curse. He carried plates and collected plates all day without stopping. If he hadn't seen the opportunity quickly and asked a few aunts to come to help, he would have been exhausted to death. After the holiday, he and his wife calculated and found that just in these few days, after deducting some miscellaneous expenses, they actually had a net income of nearly 2 million. The two were so happy that they couldn't stop smiling, so they generously gave the store staff a big red envelope as a hard work fee for the spring festival. During the spring festival, because of the store opening, Cai Hongming and his parents went back to their hometown in southern Fujian. They didn't even go to their parents-in-law to pay New Year's greetings. In the end, the two old people came by themselves. This made Cai Hongming very embarrassed, so after the spring festival, he took Shiwana to visit his parents-in-law. PS. There was a problem at home, so I stopped for a while, and it's okay to write a book like this. Starting today, updates will be resumed on a large scale. There will be crazy updates for a few days, and then it will return to normal. Want to know more exciting updates about my farm in the desert? Open WeChat now. Click the plus sign in the upper right corner, select add friends to add a public account, search for follow the public account, and you will never miss any updates. To be continued. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 52 Returning Home. PS. If you want to hear more of your voices and receive more of your suggestions, search for the WeChat public account Dread and follow it now to give more support to my farm in the desert. Cai Hongming and Shiwana went back to their father-in-law's house for a few days, and it was already the Lantern Festival when they returned. Ding 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 novel. People who went back to Shengjing Farm for the new year have returned one after another. What surprised Cai Hongming was that Pan Heyman and Shendashan each brought a beautiful bride back. In front of the house, Cai Hongming looked at Pan Heyman, Shendashan and the two shy women beside them, and raised his eyebrows unconsciously. He whispered to Liu Zong, who was helping with the luggage next to him, "What's going on? What's going on? How do I know what's going on?" Liu Zong looked unhappy, muttered, and turned away. Cai Hongming looked at his back as he left, feeling a sense of loneliness and desolation. Yes, seeing other couples in love, he was alone, so lonely and unbearable at night. No wonder he was so resentful. However, it was strange that Pan Heyman and Shendashan, two ugly men, could marry such beautiful wives. Later, after asking around, I learned that they went home to build houses and repair roads for the village after making a fortune from mining jade. Matchmakers came to act as matchmakers after seeing them getting rich. After choosing, they had these two beautiful women in front of them. Although she was not as beautiful as his wife Shiwana, she was still a standout figure in the countryside. Cai Hongming only stayed for a few days this time and would return to his hometown in southern Fujian in 2 days. Grandpa was very dissatisfied that their family did not go back for the spring festival. If he hadn't asked Hong Sheng to go back to the fire, the old man would probably have come to the northwest. So he discussed with his parents and planned to go back together to celebrate the festival. There was a festival to worship gods in their village at the end of the first month of the year, which was more lively than the spring festival. Seeing that everyone on the farm had returned, Cai Hongming called them together and planned to hold a meeting to arrange the next work. The meeting room of the new office building was bustling with people. Almost everyone in Zadu Shengjing was here, even Bagong, Sanai, Wuai, and Shafishu came to join in the fun. Cai Hongming sat in the middle. He motioned everyone to be quiet and then said, "When the weather gets hotter, we will start to move. I plan to plant a season of peanuts in the greenhouse first, and then sweet potatoes. Now everyone is afraid of genetically modified foods. So far, peanuts have not been heard of genetically modified things, so it is easy to sell them after they are grown. But we will not sell them directly, but keep them to press the oil ourselves. Now a 5-liter bottle of peanut oil in the market costs 135 yuan, which is really a rip-off. We might as well grab some." Everyone laughed when they heard it. "We also need to start cultivating the rice fields. We don't need chemical fertilizers, but well-fertilized manure. We have plenty of cow manure anyway, and the extra soil can be put into the fields outside. I don't plan to raise fish in the rice fields this year. I will raise loaches and turtles to avoid fish being stung. Don't plant anything on the land outside yet. Wait until after the spring, because there are many sandstorms this season. Once the sand blows over, everything will be covered by sand. In addition to these, we will also raise sheep and chickens this year. These two animals take a shorter time to raise, unlike raising cattle and ostriches which take a long time. Because there are many sandstorms this season. Once the sand blows over, everything will be covered by sand. By the way, Jidang, didn't you say that some people were coming? Why haven't I seen anyone yet? After speaking, Cai Hongming looked at Jidang. It's almost time. After all, they won't go out until after the 15th. It's still early now. But Hongming, there are too many people coming this time. There are about 70 people. Do we need so many people here? Don't look at the number of people. You have to think about whether those people can bear the hardship and how many will be left by then. Besides, I plan to plant roses in Zhejiang this year. I need people to look after them. There won't be many people left here. That's all. Do you have anything else to do? Pan Heyman and Chendashan looked at each other and asked hesitantly, Brother Hong, can my wife and Chendashan also stay here to work? Of course, let them go to Uncle Fu to help. There are too many people, and Uncle Fu alone in the cafeteria can't handle it. Since everyone is free, today's meeting will end here. If you don't understand something during my absence, just ask Bagang, Sanai, Wuai and others. After the instructions were given, everyone dispersed and went about their own business. Cai Hongming walked towards the greenhouse. He hadn't seen the sandworms for a few days, since he went to his father-in-law's house, and he didn't know how they were doing. When he got there, he took a closer look and found that the place where the sandworms were raised had undergone an indescribable change. The last time he dug sandworms in the desert, there were not many sandworms, at most only about 20. Now, after only a few days, the sandworms have actually multiplied. Sandworms the size of eggs are drilling in and out of the soil, leisurely and contented, looking very cute. Question mark? After observing for a while, he found that the sandworms now only stayed in the newly fertile manure, and there were no sandworms in the black soil dug out from the desert. It was very strange. So he took out the black soil and the fertile manure to compare them, and found that the black soil was darker than the newly fertile manure, and the same as the fesses of the sandworms, which should be sandworm fesses. It seems that the nutrients in the desert black soil have been eaten up by the sandworms, so there are only a few sandworms. Now the newly fertile manure contains the nutrients that the sandworms need, so they can multiply. In other words, the black soil before was the fesses of the sandworms after eating, which is much richer than the newly fertile manure. After thinking about it, Cai Hongming asked Jidong and the others to use the black soil dug out from the sandworms as fertilizer, and expanded the area where the sandworms were raised. After arranging everything in Zhejiang and the noodle shop in the town, Cai Hongming and Shiwana took their parents to their hometown. The weather this year seems to be a little hotter than in previous years. As soon as he got off the plane, Cai Hongming felt hot all over his body, so he took off his down jacket. He didn't ask anyone to pick him up, but directly hailed a taxi at the airport and went home. The car drove on the viaduct and passed through the undersea tunnel. It took only 2 hours to get home. Southern Fujian is different from the northwest. When winter comes, it is bleak. Here, no matter what season it is green, flowers are fragrant, and fruits are constantly growing. Brother, when are we going there? Hong Sheng saw Cai Hongming and the others coming back, and immediately ran over to move the luggage. While everyone was not paying attention, he secretly asked Cai Hongming. Outside, the world is vast and open, without the nagging of mom, the contempt of dad, and the majesty of grandpa. The sky suddenly became clear, the ground suddenly became thick, and even the whistling wind sounded particularly pleasant. If Cai Hongming hadn't asked him to come back, to sit around the fire, he would have been reluctant to leave. After returning, life was miserable. Mom forced him to go on blind dates all day long, and even took away his private money that he had worked hard to earn for a year. How miserable was his life? If he didn't have enough money to buy a plane ticket, he would have wanted to run away from home. Let's talk about it in a few days. Why are you in such a hurry to go back? Stay at home and accompany your mother. I heard from second aunt that he is going to find you a wife. Brother, can we not talk about this? Hong Sheng said depressedly with a sad face. He didn't want to get married so early. Cai Hongming threw his things into the room casually and walked towards the hot spring resort villa opposite with Cai Hongming. The novel My Farm in the Desert will have more fresh content on the official WeChat platform, and there will also be a 100% lucky draw gift for everyone. Open WeChat now. Click the plus sign add friends in the upper right corner, search for the public account Dread and follow it. Hurry up. To be continued. Chapter 53, Peach Blossom Valley Hot Spring Resort. It has been almost a year since Cai Hongming and his old friend Cai Zengson jointly built the hot spring resort last year. This year, Cai Zengson used all his strength to finally build the planned resort. Now it is in the final stage. After it is packed up, he will find a day to open it before May Day. The resort is an imitation of the Qin and Han style architecture, which looks heroic and grand. For this reason, Cai Hongming also added another 2 million investment. Cai Zengson also raised funds in the village, and the villagers have invested more or less. So now the resort is no longer just the property of Cai Hongming and Cai Zengson, but the property of the whole village. But the two of them still account for the majority. Cai Hongming has the most shares, accounting for 40% of the shares. Although the villagers also participated, they only enjoyed dividends and had no executive rights. Everything in the resort is still managed by Cai Zengson. After the resort was built, Cai Zengson bought a large number of peach trees from the fruit seedling seller and planted them on the mountains around the resort. I believe that when the flowers bloom, the fragrance of flowers will spread far and wide, and the villa will be hidden in the peach blossoms, which must be stunningly beautiful. Originally, they planned to plant a few more kinds of fruits, so that they would have something to eat when the time comes, but after thinking about it, they finally gave up. Because planting a kind of fruit will make the flowers bloom together, and the fruit will be easy to sell if there are more. Otherwise, how can you sell it at a good price if you plant a little? It is not necessary to sell it wholesale to others. When he arrived at the villa, Cai Hongming saw that there were many workers inside who were busy cleaning up the renovation waste, planting some ornamental flowers and trees, and planting green grass. Rich people do rich things. If the villa is contracted to others to build, it is estimated that the cost will be huge. So, thinking about it later, Cai Zengson found a master who specializes in building houses in the village to build it. You only need to pay the labor and provide the materials, and they will build it well according to the drawings. It doesn't cost much, and the price is quite cheap. When Cai Hongming came here, he slipped away to soak in the hot spring. Now the villa is not open for business, and people can soak for free. If it is open in the future, no matter who you are, you will have to pay, but the villagers will give you a 20% discount. The hot spring resort is modeled after the Qin and Han styles, from bottom to top, with pavilions and towers in between. At the top are the two most luxurious hot spring palaces in the villa, the Dragon Soup and Phoenix Pool. The Dragon Soup and Phoenix Pool has a very large space, and all the furnishings are modeled after the style of the Imperial Palace, which looks very grand and luxurious. On the wall in the middle of the main hall of the Dragon Soup hot spring is inlaid a flying dragon inlaid with golden stone, and a spring slowly flows down from the dragon's mouth and falls into the spring pool below. In front of the pool is a bright red carpet, and on both sides are places for massage, rest, eating, drinking tea and chatting, all of which are typical ancient palace styles, and the luxury is comparable to the 8-star presidential suite of the hotel. The price is also quite amazing, and it costs $88.88 to stay for 24 hours a day. Not far to the left of the dragon bath is the Phoenix Pool. On the wall behind the Phoenix Pool is a phoenix flying in the sky. The phoenix suddenly looks back and spits out a stream of warm water from its mouth, which falls into the spring pool below, creating ripples. This is a hot spring specially developed for women. It not only has flower petal baths, milk baths, fruit and vegetable baths, but also Chinese medicine baths. There are 24 kinds of flower petals for people to choose from in the flower petal bath alone. The price is the same as that of the dragon bath. Although the price of $88.88 is a bit high according to the local living standards, it is very cost effective. Because this price includes everything, including food, drink, bathing, massage, etc. However, even so, it is estimated that few people will come to soak in these two hot springs at that time because they are too expensive. Fortunately, Cai Hongming and Cai Zengxin have never thought of making money from these two. They just want to make a model here, to fill their faces and do publicity. The hot springs under the Dragon Bath and Phoenix Pool are much more affordable. Except for a few that cost more than 1,000. Most of them are less than 1,000 yuan, and the cheapest is only 80. It is a public hot spring and anyone can go there to soak. When Cai Hongming came, Cai Zengxin was reading documents in the office. He had been busy with so many things recently that he had never had a full night's sleep. He was exhausted and lost several pounds. He looked even thinner than he was originally. The two chatted for a while and agreed to drink together in the evening and then went back to their own business. Since they were here, they had to take a comfortable bath before going back. Cai Hongming called Shiwana at home and asked her to bring a change of clothes and towels to take a bath together. Although the resort was ready, it had not yet opened, and the towels and other things inside were not ready, so you had to get your own things for the hot spring bath. Cai Hongming liked the style of Long Tang, so he dragged her over there to take a bath despite his wife's objection. Speaking of which, the design of Long Tang was provided by him. He had seen the opening animation of a game before, in which a woman took a hot spring bath, and there was a relief dragon spitting water on the wall. He liked it very much when he saw it, so he told the designer about this idea, and the designer thought it was a good idea and used it. To prevent others from peeping, Cai Hongming closed the door as soon as he entered. The Long Tang room is a palace-style building, and everything inside is modeled after the ancient style, which looks very tasteful. Cai Hongming and Shiwana took off their clothes and soaked in the hot spring. You hugged me, I hugged you, quietly listening to the ding-dong of the running water, soaking in the hot spring. I only wish that this life and this world will be like this moment. The people in Kajia village knew that Cai Hongming and his family had returned, and they came to visit and greet them. Cai Hongming and Shiwana also followed Ma Luanfeng and Cai Shianfu to answer questions from relatives. In just one night, Cai Hongming felt his face sour. There is no way. Relatives come to say hello, smile, and accompany to talk. You can't show an unhappy expression. Otherwise, people will murmur in their hearts and make people unhappy. Well, since you can't make people unhappy, you can only make yourself unhappy. So until he woke up the next day, he still felt that his face was very uncomfortable. Just came back, and there must be people coming to say hello during the day. Cai Hongming couldn't stay any longer. He didn't want to get mixed up with a bunch of old people. So, he asked Shiwana if she wanted to go out and play. Shiwana couldn't leave. When guests came, she had to pass candy and cut fruit, chat with them, and be a virtuous daughter-in-law. Since she wanted to be a good daughter-in-law, Cai Hongming had no choice but to ask Han Sheng to go with him to his uncle's house. Since Lu Qishan bought a second-hand yacht to take people to his island to fish, his business has been getting better and better, and he earns more money than he did as a fishmonger. If he wasn't afraid of having no money to make when the typhoon season came, he would have wanted to drive a yacht to take people to do business on the island. Now his reputation has spread, and people who come to the island to play are not limited to fishing. Some people come to dive and barbecue. After making money, he built a few houses on it and a cylindrical lighthouse-like building more than 10 meters high so that people can go up to see the scenery. Cai Hongming went to his uncle's house and then followed him to the island. The first thing he saw was the tall lighthouse. He didn't know what his uncle was thinking. Why did he build that? Was he worried that the seawater would surge onto the island when a typhoon came? So he arranged a retreat route in advance so that he could take shelter there? That shouldn't be the case, right? He was right 10 points. That's what Lu Qishan thought. He was timid and afraid of death. He always wondered, what if there was a high tide and the seawater flooded the island? So he prepared for a rainy day and built a building like a lighthouse. The lighthouse is about 4 or 5 meters in diameter and is about 4 or 5 stories high. Rural buildings are about 3.5 meters high on each floor. There is a big room inside, and there are beds and toilets on each floor for people to rest. Lu Qishan originally wanted to give it to people to live in, but unfortunately no one was willing. Just think about it, on this uninhabited island, at night, there is no ghost, only the whistling wind and the sound of the waves. It's creepy to think about it. Who would want to stay in this ghost place? It's too heavy. Arriving at the island, after getting off the boat, everyone who had been here skillfully took out the fishing rods they brought with them, hung fish bait on them and went fishing. Some went to play on the beach, and some rented diving suits to go diving. Today was not Sunday, so not many people came. Most of them were middle-aged people, or young people who were bored. When Cai Hongming arrived here, he ran to the house excitedly, to get a fishing rod to go fishing. Cai Hongming hadn't been here for a long time. After walking around the island, he felt bored, so he took off his clothes, and went into the CR 1152. Chapter 54 Water Dragon. In many people's impressions, the sea should be warm, like the spring breeze, rippling microwaves, and sparkling water light in the sun. Top novel, but, in fact, it is not like this. Even when it is the most gentle, its heart is wild, with dark waves inside, stirring up countless whirlpools. If you are not careful, and fall into it, you will lose yourself. It is actually a lion. It usually sleeps, closing its eyes as if harmless, lying there, as if quiet. It's just that the ears that shake from time to time, and the ups and downs of the belly betray it. Once there is any movement around it, it will rise up angrily. That was at high tide, the waves like angry lions, one wave after another, rushing towards the coast rapidly. Some waves pushed for a while and then disappeared, some surged onto the beach, and some hit the rocks on the shore, making a swooshing sound. Even on the land in the distance, you can vaguely hear the sound of waves rushing straight to the beach. At that time, you will know that the sea is so wild and so turbulent. Fortunately, when Cai Hongming went into the water, not only was the sea calm, but it was also very quiet under the sea, and he did not encounter anything like dark waves. The sea water at this time was calm, like a mirror, reflecting the blue sky, white clouds and seagulls above. If you are careful, you will find that the sea water is so clear and bright through the sunlight from the sky, and even the fine sand and stones in it can be seen clearly. In the distant waters, a pink figure is chasing a group of small fish swimming happily in the water. Suddenly, the pink figure seemed to feel something, and suddenly turned around and swam forward. There are many people diving on the island now. When there are too many people, the things on the seabed will suffer. These people don't know how to show mercy, and they pick up everything they see. If Lucashian hadn't asked them not to pick up small shellfish, small fish and shrimps, and keep them for them to reproduce, the creatures here would have been extinct long ago. So, Cai Hongming dived into the water, and searched for a long time, but he didn't find anything worthwhile, so he had to continue swimming forward. Suddenly, he found a pink streak passing over the waves in the distance, swimming towards him quickly. Not knowing what it was, he quickly dodged. But that thing was too fast. There was no way to dodge it. When it came in front of him, he realized that it was a pink manta ray. After not seeing Cai Hongming for a year, this little thing has grown a lot. Looking at its huge body, the wingspan is at least 4 or 5 meters. The pink manta ray was happily calling whoosh, whoosh around Cai Hongming, and foolishly rubbed his short head against him. After a while, it got under Cai Hongming, and swam with him. Cai Hongming quickly grabbed its fleshy wings, to prevent it from falling off. The pink manta ray was very happy, because it hadn't seen Cai Hongming for a long time. It suddenly flew out of the sea with him, then landed on the sea and splashed a few times, then quickly dived into the water, and swam far away. Cai Hongming relied on the platinum dragon seal on him, so he was not afraid of being choked by water, so he let it carry him everywhere. After a while, when the pink manta ray jumped out of the sea again, he finally felt something was wrong. Looking around, there was only a blue sea. There was no land in sight. Where did this guy take him? Although he was not afraid of being choked by water, he was also afraid of starving to death if he couldn't find the way back. So, he quickly asked the pink manta ray to stop. If he didn't let it stop, it would probably take him to the Pacific Ocean. Already far away from the familiar waters, Cai Hongming held the mentality of making the best of it. He carefully looked at the seabed below the pink manta ray to see if there was anything worth taking back, so as to avoid a wasted trip. Suddenly, the platinum dragon seal on his chest, which had not moved for a long time, suddenly emitted a bright light, flickering non-stop. It seemed to be very eager. It wanted something very urgently, just like a hungry child, crying for milk. Cai Hongming had no experience and didn't know what was going on, so he had to follow his feelings and let the pink manta ray swim forward slowly, wanting to see what was going on. After swimming for a while, the light on the platinum dragon seal became stronger and stronger, as if it had arrived. Cai Hongming got off the pink manta ray and swam forward by himself. Not far away was a raised underwater mountain range, which should be the place where the platinum dragon seal wanted to come urgently, but he had no idea why he came here. When he came closer, the platinum dragon seal flew out of his body and imprinted on the highest mountain range on the seabed. With a bang, the platinum dragon seal smashed a deep pit on the mountain range. Seeing this change, Cai Hongming suddenly remembered the last time he went to the Thousand Hands Buddha temple. Didn't the platinum dragon seal fly out by itself to absorb the spiritual energy stored in the Buddhist temple? Could it be the same this time? After a while, the platinum dragon seal flew back by itself. A piece of information flooded into his mind. Cai Hongming was about to look, but suddenly felt something was wrong. The underwater mountain suddenly shook, the mud underneath was shaken and dispersed, and the seawater became turbid. Cai Hongming saw that it was not good and hurriedly climbed onto the back of the pink manta ray and asked it to take him away from this sea area. CCTV News. Now play a message just received. According to the China Earthquake Administration, at 9:35, a magnitude 6.5 earthquake occurred between Penghu, Taiwan and the sea area of Fujian province. The focal depth was 30 kilometers. Penghu, Chiayi, Tainan, Kaohsiung, Taiwan, and Xiamen, Quanzhou, Zhangzhou and other coastal areas in Fujian all felt the earthquake. After the pink manta ray swam out for a while, Cai Hongming looked back and saw that the originally raised mountains in the distance were all sunken, not like a mountain range at all. After leaving the place of trouble, Cai Hongming remembered the inexplicable message that the platinum dragon seal had just sent over and hurriedly read it carefully. It turned out that the platinum dragon seal was the seal of the Dark Lake Dragon King. With this seal, it was accepted by the heavenly court, and it could enjoy the fireworks of the world, be in charge of one side, and make clouds and rain. Otherwise, it could only be a wild dragon occupying one side. Just like the county magistrate recognized by the government and the bandit leader entrenched in one side. The five element evolved from heaven and earth, and the five element of all things are not included in the five element. Dragons also have five element, which are divided into gold dragons, wood dragons, earth dragons, water dragons, and fire dragons, and the Dark Lake Dragon King is a water dragon, who is responsible for making clouds and rain, and adjusting the wind and solar terms. After the Dark Lake Dragon King fell, the Platinum Dragon Seal was lucky enough to stay. Because it was the seal of the Dark Lake Dragon King, it also had the function of the Dark Lake Dragon King to make clouds and rain, but it became like scrap iron without spiritual energy, until it absorbed spiritual energy in the Thousand Hands Buddha Hall, and recovered a little bit of its function. Now that it has absorbed the spiritual energy of the seabed water veins again, its functions have been restored to some extent. In the past, the Platinum Dragon Seal could regulate the rainwater of about 10 acres of land, but now it can regulate about 100 acres. In other words, as long as the water vapor stored in the Platinum Dragon Seal is sufficient, he can call the wind and rain, and regulate the clouds at will. With this thing, Cai Hongming does not have to be afraid of the sun in the summer. At that time, he can summon a cloud to block the sun, use rain to moisten the desert land of his home, and blow gently with the breeze. He can do whatever he wants. However, these are also conditional. For example, there must be water vapor, that is, water spiritual energy, when it rains. These must be absorbed from the water and stored in the Platinum Dragon Seal, or they can be derived by absorbing the essence of the bright moon, and summoning clouds and wind must also have spiritual energy. If the spiritual energy is exhausted, it must be replenished. If not, the Platinum Dragon Seal will become the original piece of stubborn iron. So the idea of doing whatever you want is a bit taken for granted. However, after absorbing the spiritual energy this time, the space inside the Platinum Dragon Seal that originally stored water vapor became larger. It can not only store water vapor, but also raise things. After knowing this, Cai Hongming had an idea. He could raise some fish and water plants in it. When he wanted to eat in the future, he could just catch them in it. He didn't have to go to the sea to fish. Thinking about it, he started to act. There happened to be a clump of dense water plants in front of him, full of edible things, as well as marine fish, shellfish and other things. He quickly asked the pink manta ray to swim over, intending to collect a lot before going back. Pull the radish, pull the radish, pull the radish. Cai Hongming worked hard to pull the kelp growing on the seabed. This wild kelp is more resilient than the farmed one, and tastes much better. There is not only kelp on the seabed, but also other seaweeds and algae. After Cai Hongming pulled for a while, he felt that the kelp was almost done, so he started to pull other seaweeds. These things can be planted in the water space of the platinum dragon seal, and allowed to grow naturally. You can pick them whenever you want to eat them, saving you the trouble of buying them. To be continued. Chapter 55. Ancient Shipwreck. PS. To read the exclusive story behind my farm in the desert, and hear more of your suggestions for the novel, follow the official account, add friends on WeChat, add official account, enter DD, and tell me quietly. The vast sea waves rise and fall. The seaweed under the sea surface is also driven by the water flow, swaying its enchanting figure. Cai Hongming pulled the seaweed gently, trying not to bring up silt, so as not to make the sea water turbid and unable to see anything. There are also some marine fish and shellfish hidden in the dense seaweed. When he saw the big ones, he put them into the water space of the platinum dragon seal, to form a complete food chain inside. He pulled some, and thought it was almost done, so he planned to stop. Suddenly, he saw a tall giant kelp growing not far away, and he was stunned. The giant kelp is a genus of the family Macrophyte of the order Macrophyte of the order Macrophyte of the order Phaeophyceae. This kind of seaweed grows very fast. Under suitable conditions, a giant kelp can grow 30 centimeters to 60 centimeters a day, and can grow all year round. In a year, a giant kelp can grow to more than 60 meters. The mature ones are generally 70 to 80 meters long, and the longest can reach 500 meters, so it is called giant kelp. In spring and summer, as long as the water temperature is suitable, it can grow about 2 meters a day, and its volume doubles every 16 to 20 days. This speed is far beyond the reach of all other plants, whether on land or in the ocean. This thing is mainly distributed along the Pacific coast of America, and is a cold water seaweed. It is mainly distributed in the waters of Alaska, Canada, the United States, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, Chile, Peru, and South Africa. In 1978, China successfully introduced giant kelp cultivation from Mexico for the first time, and it is currently growing well in coastal areas. It's just that this thing is only cultivated in Shandong. How did it get here? I haven't heard of anyone raising this thing on the southeast coast. Could it be that I was brought to the Shandong waters by the pink manta ray? How is it possible? Cai Hongming was confused and planned to put away this tall giant kelp and then go up to see where he is now. Who knew that when he pulled the giant kelp, it would never stop? Originally, this thing was floating in the water for more than 50 meters. He pulled it for a while, and it was almost 100 meters, but he still couldn't pull it up. He pulled it up with all his strength, and after a while, he finally pulled the whole giant kelp out and put it into the water space of the platinum dragon seal. He was curious about what was going on, so he looked at the place where the giant kelp was pulled out. But he found that there was a very deep hole where the giant kelp was pulled out. Looking more carefully, the hole was actually a piece of wood. He was also stupid and bold. He was curious, so he broke the wood and made the hole bigger. It was unknown how long these wood boards had been soaked in water, and they were almost rotten due to corrosion. He didn't use much strength to break the wood boards. When the hole became bigger, he took out the flashlight from the paradise and the jade tripod. To prevent it from being corroded by water, he specially wrapped a thick layer of safety film on the flashlight, and then drilled into the hole. The pink mantis saw him go in, and wanted to go in too. Unfortunately, it was too big and there was no way, so it could only look in from the outside. Cai Hongming came in, and shone a flashlight, and found that it was an ancient shipwreck. He immediately understood. This sea area should have been the main passage for ships in the past. This ship probably had bad luck, and sank in a typhoon or a reef. In Pington, Fujian province, there is a sea area where a large number of ancient shipwrecks have sunk. Fishermen can fish out some porcelain from time to time, and last time it made a big news. Seeing that it was a shipwreck, Cai Hongming's eyes lit up. Shipwreck. Sometimes it means treasure. Because shipwrecks are generally ancient, the things in the ship have basically become antiques in modern times. If you are lucky, you can find a treasure that can be sold at a high price, and you will have enough food and clothing for the rest of your life. Look at the style of this ship and the fact that it is covered by silt. At least it was before the Qing dynasty, otherwise it would not be completely covered by silt. Things from that time are now all antiques. Any porcelain can be sold for a lot of money. The more he thought about it, the brighter Cai Hongming's eyes became, and he slowly swam into the ship. The hull of the sunken ship was very large, almost 10 meters high. Anyway, Cai Hongming felt very spacious when he swam inside. A ship like this usually has 2 floors, one for living and one for ballast. The place where Cai Hongming swam in was the upper cabin where people lived. This kind of cabin is usually divided into several spaces for living and cargo. Cai Hongming swam inside, holding a flashlight and shining it around to see if there was anything good. The cabin was not like the outside. Even with the slight sunlight, it was pitch black inside. It was dark and eerie everywhere. For no reason, Cai Hongming felt creepy. He had also read Ghost Blows Out the Light, and he remembered that there was a chapter in it that seemed to be about encountering ghosts on the seabed. Originally, he was not afraid of those things, but at this moment, he inexplicably thought of those who died, and it really made him creepy again. He swallowed his breath secretly, lowered his head and looked around. Suddenly, he saw a shadow swaying beside him, and his heart skipped a beat. Could it be that there really is such a thing? He was from southern Fujian. Southern Fujian and even the coastal areas of China always have some respect for ghosts and gods. Sometimes, although he said he didn't believe in them, he still had to avoid things that should be avoided when he went to the temple to worship. He had to follow the local customs just in case. Now seeing this situation, he couldn't help but pray to the passing gods for protection. Suddenly, he saw the shadow move again and felt something was wrong, so he took out his flashlight to shine it. Damn, it's not a ghost at all. It's clearly a root of something that penetrated the board from above and floated in the water, which scared him a lot. Knowing that it was not a ghost, he finally breathed a sigh of relief and continued to swim forward. Suddenly, a black shadow swam towards him from the front, passed under his crotch, and disappeared in a flash. Oh my god, what is that thing? The speed was too fast for him to see clearly. Fortunately, nothing happened. It seems that he has to be on guard. If something else comes over and accidentally bites it out of curiosity, his life will be over. After swimming for a while, Cai Hongming didn't know which part of the cabin he was in, so he could only keep swimming forward. After swimming for a while, he saw a room and went in to take a look. Most of the things inside were corroded by seawater, leaving only chairs and other things attached to shellfish. After looking at several rooms, most of them were like this. Even if he saw a box, after opening it, he found that the things inside had long been corroded by seawater. However, he did find some porcelain, some of which were broken and some were still well preserved. Cai Hongming didn't know whether they were antiques that could be sold, so he put them all into the paradise in the jade tripod. There is a warehouse behind the cabin where people live, and Cai Hongming finally ushered in his biggest harvest this time. There were a pile of boxes in the warehouse. Some of them were cracked when the ship tilted and sank. Some were damaged, but many were preserved. There were about 20 boxes. He didn't care whether the things inside were intact or not. He put them into the paradise in the jade tripod and planned to go back and take a look. There was more than one warehouse. There were more beside it, but except for this warehouse, there were no other places to put the boxes. No one knew what they were. They had been corroded into mud by now. But from the clues, these things should be medicinal herbs, spices and the like. He also found from the clues he saw, after entering the ship, that this was an ancient sunken ship from the Song dynasty. Therefore, he was more certain that the things he saw just now should be medicinal herbs, spices and the like. During the Song dynasty, maritime trade was prosperous. For the sake of money, sea merchants worked tirelessly to transport a large number of goods to Champa, Zenla, Srivijaya, Kelantan, Brunei, Balinfeng, Lanwuli, Dish, Sanayu, Dashi, Dakin, Persia, Bela, Maga, Yelu, Gilin, Zilan, Dengliumri, Zangli, Sigarii, Milan P and other 58 countries in Europe and Asia to sell goods. When they came back, they bought ivory, coral, agate, pearl, myrrh, benzoin, pepper, glass, tortoise shell and other valuable goods from these countries. Among them, the most commonly used spices are the most common, because they are the fastest to sell. Cai Hongming searched the entire ship from top to bottom. In addition to the previous boxes, he only found some porcelain, but the estimated value was not very high, because he found that these seemed to be daily necessities for the crew on the ship, but he still took them away, better than nothing. In addition to these, he also found a large amount of pig iron in the bottom cabin, which is the bottom layer, where the ballast stones are placed. Each piece of pig iron is about 2 meters long, 30 centimeters wide, and 20 centimeters thick. It seems that the ship owner is really not afraid of death. You should know that in the Song dynasty, salt and iron were monopolized by the court. If he sells private goods, he will be beheaded, and his family will be exterminated if he is found out. However, these sea merchants are also smart. They use worthless stones as ballast when they go, and use iron when they return. This way, they make more than 100 times the profit. But there is too much pig iron. It is estimated that they are greedy and put too much. When they encounter a storm on the way, they are hit by the waves, and these iron blocks fall to the side, and the hull is unstable and tilted, so it is finished. So it is better not to be too greedy. These iron blocks seem useless. Iron ore is so cheap now. What's the use of these things? It's a burden to carry them. Forget it. Put them away. Maybe they can be used to lay foundations in the future. Cai Hongming thought about it, put away all the iron blocks in the bottom cabin, and then swam back. The pink manta ray, who was waiting anxiously outside, saw him come out and immediately poked its head over to rub against him happily. A great event. A cool phone is waiting for you. Follow us, click on the official account, add friends on WeChat, add official account, enter DD, and participate immediately. Everyone will win a prize. Follow DD's WeChat official account now. To be continued. Chapter 56. Priceless Red Coral. PS. Read the exclusive story behind My Farm in the Desert, and listen to your suggestions for the novel. Follow the official account, add friends on WeChat, add official account, enter DD, and tell me quietly. After leaving the ancient shipwreck, Cai Hongming let the pink manta carry him upstream. When he reached the sea, he looked around and saw the vast sea, waves, and waves of surging tides like music. Not knowing where he was, Cai Hongming took out his mobile phone from the paradise in the jade tripod and found that there was no signal. But the mobile phone has positioning. After checking, he found that he had come to the vicinity of the Dangsha Islands in just a few moments. This guy is swimming too fast. Cai Hongming glanced at the pink manta ray under his seat, who was extremely excited, and sighed. He wanted to call Cai Hongming, but he had to give up when he saw that his mobile phone had no signal. At this time, he remembered that he seemed to have seized a satellite phone from the guys who wanted to kill them when he was in Zhejiang, so he took it out. After the phone was seized, Cai Hongming wanted to ask Ki Dioji Sheo to help track the source of the signal, but he forgot about it later. After checking, he found that the satellite phone was still usable, so he picked it up and was about to make a call. After thinking about it, he gave up. He was afraid that someone could track all the information about him and his friends through the phone he made. It seems that he has to buy a satellite phone, otherwise he can't make calls. This satellite phone can be used not only here, but also in the desert. Every year when there is a sandstorm, the mobile phone signal will be interrupted. Sometimes there is no signal in the desert, so you have to buy a few more and put them at home to prevent accidents. Since it is useless, Cai Hongming threw away the satellite phone to save it from taking up space in the paradise. Then he let the pink manta ray take him back. The pink manta ray is very fast, and it swam a long way in a flash. Cai Hongming held its fleshy wings tightly and shone a flashlight around. His flashlight is a military-use super strong flashlight. It can illuminate a kilometer away on land. It is also waterproof and anti-electric. It is said to be bulletproof. He just wrapped it in a plastic bag just in case. Who knows if it is really waterproof. Although this flashlight can illuminate a kilometer on land, it is amazing to be able to illuminate a few hundred meters in the sea due to the barrier of seawater. Suddenly, a red light flashed in front of him. Cai Hongming quickly asked the pink manta ray to stop and swim to the place where the red light came from. It was a red coral tree, half a meter tall, with thick branches, like a low winter sweet. Very beautiful. In ancient times, red coral was regarded as a symbol of auspiciousness and happiness, representing noble power, so it was also called auspicious treasure, a symbol of happiness and eternity. In the story of Cai and Lang starring Zheng Xiaoqiu, isn't there a story about the Mazu temple in Misan offering red coral to the Empress Dowager? It can be seen that red coral is precious. During the Qing dynasty, only the hats and court beads worn by second-rank officials were made of precious red coral. Tibetan lamas often held prayer beads made of red coral. In the traditional culture of China, India, and the Indians, especially the indigenous Indians and nomadic peoples such as the Tibetans in China, they are particularly fond of red coral, and even regarded as a sustenance for self-protection, and praying for the blessing of God, Emperor. According to historical records, the use of red coral by humans can be traced back to the ancient Roman era. The ancient Romans believed that coral had the functions of preventing disasters, giving people wisdom, stopping bleeding and driving away heat, and some sailors believed that wearing red coral could prevent lightning and hurricanes, calm the wind, and make the journey safe. Therefore, the Romans called it red gold, which cast a mysterious color on red coral. Modern Westerners list coral as one of the 3 major organic gems along with pearls and amber, and it is one of the March birthstones in the West. In Eastern Buddhist scriptures, it is listed as one of the 7 treasures. Only now, due to the wanton mining by humans, the resources of red coral are decreasing day by day, and coral trees over 2 feet tall are very rare. Cai Hongming did not expect to find one here. This thing is simply a natural bonsai. When he returns, he only needs to make a base and place it in the hall. It is a high-end existence. So, he took out the shovel from the cave paradise and the jade tripod and started digging. After digging, he looked around and found that it was a trench, which was densely covered with various strange coral reefs. After a while, he found another red coral tree in a coral reef that looked like a boulder. This red coral tree is much taller than the one he just found, at least about 1.5 meters. The main branch in the middle is particularly thick, and the other side branches spread out from this main branch, like a big tree. No. After taking a closer look, the more Cai Hongming looked at it, the more he felt that this coral tree looked like something, but he couldn't remember it for a while. After thinking for a long time, he couldn't come up with a result, so he didn't care, and picked up the shovel to dig. Suddenly, he seemed to remember something, and when he looked at the tall red coral tree in front of him, his eyes suddenly widened. This tree is clearly like a 1,000-armed guanyin. Look at the main branch, which is round and full, like the body of a great master. The side branches that extend out are like the 1,000 hands, as if they are holding magic weapons. This is not a coral tree, but a priceless treasure. Although he knew that there was no one here at this time, Cai Hongming felt guilty for no reason and looked around, fearing that someone would see him and kill him for money. At that moment, he hurriedly took the shovel and carefully dug up the tree and the reefs underneath. This should be a place where corals reproduce for generations, otherwise there would not be so many corals. Not only corals, but also 9-segment shrimps. Ever since he ate the super large 9-segment shrimps last time, he has been obsessed with the taste of 9-segment shrimps. When he passed by the seafood market on his way back, he specifically asked about the current market price of 9-segment shrimps. One catty is 300, which is against the sky. After a calculation, the 9-segment prawns he caught that time were worth at least tens of thousands of dollars. When he saw the 9-segment prawns, he caught them. This time he brought a net, so he was not afraid of not catching any. In addition to 9-segment prawns, he also found oysters, clams, conger eels, lobsters, abalone, sea bass, grouper, sea catfish, red sturgeon, cuttlefish, squid, sea urchin, sea cucumber, and so on. There were so many species, probably because this was a trench and a place where coral reefs thrived, because such a place meant that food was abundant. Not only were there many species here, but they were also surprisingly large, especially a balloon. Last time he saw the basin-sized abalone brought by the pink manta ray, he was very happy, and now he saw two abalones as big as that time. However, the abalone shells were covered with shellfish and seaweed, which looked like mosses, very disgusting. In fact, abalone tasted like that. If you don't taste it carefully, you might think you are eating gluten, the flour without starch and impurities, which has no nutrition. Moreover, the meat of this big abalone is very old and chewy. It may not be as delicious as the smaller abalone, but it tastes good when used to make soup, especially the Fujian special dish Buddha jumps over the wall is extremely delicious. Cai Hongming never has too much good stuff, especially now that he has the water space of the platinum dragon seal. He fishes a lot. Anyway, if it is big, and he likes it, he will put it in the water space to raise it. If it reproduces in the future, he won't have to go to the sea all the time. After fishing for a long time, he has a lot of catching. He caught 3 1-meter long stonefish. Such a big guy's not seen in the market. He has caught all the things here. If he wants to see bigger things in the future, he will probably have to wait for at least a few years. Seeing that he has caught almost everything, Cai Hongming sat on the pink manta ray and went to his uncle's island. This pink manta ray is also very arrogant. When it was close to the island, it suddenly rushed out of the sea and flew in the sky with its wings flapping. The people on the island were stunned and screamed. A great event where pie in the sky falls. A cool mobile phone is waiting for you. Follow it, click the official account, add friends on WeChat, add official account, enter DD, and participate immediately. Everyone will win a prize. Follow DD's WeChat official account now. To be continued. Chapter 57. The brilliance of that box. Brother, where did you go just now? My uncle almost sailed out to sea to look for you. Cai Hongsheng asked Cai Hongming while grilling something on the grill. Go find something to eat. Otherwise what else can you do? Cai Hongming caught some oysters, 9-segment shrimps and other things in the sea and put them in a net bag to prepare for the barbecue at noon so as not to be seen empty-handed. When he came back, the charcoal fire in the grill was red, and the 9-segment shrimps, oysters, and red crabs on the rack were slowly roasted, emitting bursts of fragrance. When they were cooked, they were dipped in sauce and eaten, and a primitive taste penetrated into the taste buds. It's a pity that there was no wine. If there was wine, it would definitely taste more delicious. The pink manta ray also climbed onto the beach and lay beside the grill, watching Cai Hongming and Cai Hongsheng grilling. When he saw Cai Hongming eating, this guy immediately shouted anxiously. Cai Hongming glanced at it, picked a few prawns, and dipped them in sauce for it to eat. The pink manta ray opened its mouth and swallowed it in one gulp. It was obviously not enough to fill its stomach, so it cried again. Cai Hongming fed it some more and then ignored it. This guy is so big that he will never be full, no matter how much he eats. Seeing that he stopped feeding himself, the pink manta ray could only lie on the beach and look at him. Cai Hongming felt a little sorry for the aggrieved and innocent look. Several girls who came to the island to play together watched for a while. After finding that the pink manta ray was harmless, they came over and asked Cai Hongming if they could take a photo with the pink manta ray. Cai Hongming didn't care, but the pink manta ray didn't like it. It turned around and went into the sea proudly. After playing on the island for a whole day, the group returned on a yacht when it was almost dark. After returning home, after dinner, while my mother took my wife out to visit relatives, Cai Hongming secretly entered the cave paradise in the jade tripod. The cave paradise has been growing larger and larger after absorbing the jade toad liquid transformed by the jade tripod. Now it has a radius of 100 meters. There were many things planted inside, and as soon as you entered, you could smell the fragrance of grass and trees. After Pan Heyman returned home, he followed Cai Hongming's instructions and brought a bunch of living medicinal herbs and seeds from home. It was quite rare that there were a few wild ginsengs inside. Although they were not old, they were much better than the ginsengs planted in ordinary gardens. There was also a bag of wild ginseng seeds, which he planted one by one in the cave paradise. These herbs In addition to the ones that Cai Hongming collected himself, the entire cave paradise was planted full, and there was no free space at all. However, the little fat worm was blessed. Since the herbs were planted, the little guy's food was not limited to Ganoderma lucidum and tea leaves. He began to gnaw on the leaves and tubers of those herbs, so that the worm tea he pulled out had a herbal smell. Cai Hongming didn't know what the new things he pulled out were for, so he collected them, and wanted to find someone to study them when he had time, lest he get sick from eating them. At this time, the more than 20 boxes that were fished out of the sea were neatly placed in the corner of the cave paradise. Cai Hongming didn't look closely at the bottom of the sea, and only then did he find that the box was covered with a layer of iron sheet. After being on the seabed for a long time, the iron sheets were rusty and looked like a box made of wood. There was a lock on the box, but it was rusted. Cai Hongming went to find a hammer and knocked the lock open. He opened the box. He suddenly found that it was a box full of copper coins, but they were all rusted beyond recognition. Perhaps because he was afraid that the moisture from the sea would infiltrate the box, the owner of the box spent some time to prevent moisture. Not only was the outside of the box wrapped with iron sheet, but the inside was also wrapped with a layer of oil paper, and finally a moisture-absorbing dry cloth was placed in the box. But even so, it still failed to prevent the copper coins from rusting. After all, it has been on the seabed for a long time. Even if the seawater can't get in, the box will still be penetrated by the cold outside. After opening several boxes in a row, they were all full of copper coins, and Cai Hongming didn't feel disgusted. But thinking about it, it felt okay. Because only the copper coins close to the box were seriously corroded. The ones in the middle were not so bad. If they were cleaned up, some of them should be salvaged and worth some money. You know, some copper coins from the Song dynasty are still very valuable. Then, he opened another box. Suddenly, a white light appeared in front of his eyes. Looking carefully, it was a box of silver ingots. Cai Hongming couldn't help but feel happy. With just this box, his hard work underwater was rewarded. Silver ingots were the common currency in the old days. Because they were shaped like pig waists, they were also called pig waist silver. Common shapes include round-headed wasted, flat-headed wasted and arc-headed wasted. Similar silver blocks after the Yuan and Ming dynasties are called silver ingots and ingots. Cai Hongming picked up a silver ingot. Because it was too old and the time was too long, the surface of the silver ingot had lost its luster and looked dull. He took a look and found that there was no writing on the silver ingot. Generally, silver ingots like this would have their origins and dates marked, but this one didn't, and was obviously minted privately. It seems that the owner of this box is not only rich, but also a daring person. You know, in the old days, privately minting coins would result in the confiscation of property and beheading. However, these people drifting on the sea probably didn't take the government seriously, because making a living on the sea was a matter of hanging your head on your belt. After flipping through it, he found that there were 8 boxes of silver ingots and 6 boxes of gold ingots. The other boxes contained some rhinoceros horns, tortoise shells, ivory, pearls, colored glaze, agate, etc., which were considered rare and precious items at the time. Seeing these things, Cai Hongming's eyes lit up. He couldn't help but be happy, and he knew it with a little calculation. The current price of silver is more than 3 yuan and 20 cents. With so many silver ingots, a box of silver ingots is at least more than 200 kilograms. At the current exchange rate, these silvers can bring him millions of income. It is true that a horse cannot grow fat without night grass. When luck comes, even gods cannot stop it. With so much money, he can go to Zhejiang to vigorously cultivate and plant roses, and the plan to open a store in Jiangnan can also be advanced. However, these things are a little troublesome to deal with, and it seems that he needs to find an acquaintance. After a look, Cai Hongming left the cave paradise in the jade tripod. When he returned to the room, his mother just happened to call outside, and he ran out quickly. He thought to himself that it was good, otherwise it would be bad if his mother and wife found out. In the following days, he and his wife either accompanied his parents to visit relatives, or drank and chatted with friends, or went to the mountains to dig some herbs, and planted them in the cave paradise in the jade tripod. These days are also carefree. However, there are still a lot of things to do on the farm in Zhengzheng, and spring is here, and Zhejiang will also start to cultivate land and plant roses. There is no time to spare, so after playing for a few days, Cai Hongming set a date and planned to go back with his wife first, while his parents would go back later. After deciding to leave, thinking that his wife had not yet visited her uncle's island, Cai Hongming packed up and took her there, planning to stay there at night and spend a quiet time with his wife. To be continued. Chapter 58 Tuna. The gentle wind rolled up the waves, creating waves. The hot sun shone on them, shining a starlight. After Cai Hongming arrived on the island, he found a corner and fished with Shiwana. Literally, it was fishing, but in reality, he was holding her, being affectionate and cuddling with her. In the end, even the silly pink manta ray couldn't stand it anymore and cried Huwu in dissatisfaction beside them, as if protesting against the two people's disregard for it. I don't know if this guy has any special abilities. As long as Cai Hongming comes, it will know immediately and then swim over happily. Shiwana likes this guy very much and feels that it is very cute with its pink body, but Cai Hongming despises it. How can it be called cute when it is so big? Embarrassed by it, Shiwana shyly slapped Cai Hongming's mischievous hand away, ran over to touch the honest head of the pink manta ray, which was slippery, like a seal, and felt very fun. The pink manta ray rubbed against her ingratiatingly, especially liking to lean against her chest. Cai Hongming, who was watching from the side, had his eyebrows twitching, and he muttered in his heart that he didn't know whether this guy was male or female, and he was afraid that his wife would be teased by a fish in the end. Shiwana was tickled by it, so she pushed it away. But this guy thought she was playing with it, and immediately leaned over again. Sometimes he even leaned directly against the pair of majestic mountains, flattening the two peaks. Cai Hongming's face twitched when he saw it. This happened again and again, and finally Shiwana was annoyed by it. Seeing that it was about to rub against her again, she quickly stood up and ran away. The pink manta ray saw it and chased after it quickly. It usually crawls on the ground with its fleshy wings, but after crawling for a while, it felt that it was not very fast, so it stood up and planned to walk with its fleshy triangular tail, but it turned out that this was not feasible. After walking a few steps, it lay down again, and Shiwana had already run away. The pink manta ray looked at it and cried Huwu unwillingly twice, then crawled back to Cai Hongming and lay down. It was like a puppy, very cute, but according to Cai Hongming's idea, if it was not so big, it would be even cuter. Because there were many people coming to the island to play, Cai Hongming did not do anything unconventional during the day, but followed the crowd and went fishing and picking shells on the island with Shiwana. When his uncle went back, he asked Shiwana to put on a diving suit, bring a net bag and a scoop net, and go fishing in the sea with him on the pink manta ray. It's okay. Looking at the endless sea, Shiwana nervously hugged Cai Hongming's arm and asked, "It's okay." Cai Hongming patted his wife, who was a little pale, and said, because Shiwana was not like him, she could breathe freely in the water, so Cai Hongming did not think of going into the water, but just took her to sit on the pink manta ray to find a place to use a scoop net to catch fish. The pink manta ray is a smart fish. After hearing Cai Hongming's instructions, it found a place where fish gathered not far from the island, which is commonly known as a fish nest. The fish in this fish nest are not very big, only the length of a palm and the width of 2 fingers. But the meat is fresh and tastes good. Cai Hongming looked at it. He felt it was okay, so he let the pink manta ray stop here, and he and Shiwana stood up together, using the scoop net to catch fish. Shiwana was a little scared and hugged Cai Hongming's arm tightly. After all, this is in the sea. If you accidentally fall in, you may disappear in a moment. She cursed the unreliable guy in front of her more than once in her heart, but after a while, she slowly adapted to it and dared to catch fish. As she caught more and more, she even lost her fear and began to enjoy it. But after a while, she couldn't catch any more, so she simply held Cai Hongming's arm and stood aside to direct him to catch fish. There, and there, hurry up, there are fish over there too. After fishing here for a while, seeing that there were almost enough fish, Cai Hongming asked the pink manta to move to another place. The pink manta ray swam forward obediently, swimming farther and farther, and gradually lost sight of the island and any buildings. There was nothing but sea water everywhere, which made people panic. Shiwana couldn't help but hug Cai Hongming tightly, not daring to let go at all, for fear that she would fall off the pink manta ray accidentally. Not knowing where to go, the pink manta ray suddenly stopped. Cai Hongming looked around, and there were no fish around. Why did it stop? Hongming, what do you think that is? The sharp-eyed Chihuahua suddenly saw the water waves shaking in the distance, flashing with scales, and it seemed that something was jumping in the scales. Cai Hongming looked in the direction of her finger, and saw fish jumping out of the sea in the distance, swimming quickly towards this side. It was the school of fish coming. With such good luck, Cai Hongming quickly got ready to catch fish. At the end, he did not forget to tell Shiwana to cover her face to avoid being disfigured by these passing fish. After hearing this, Shiwana quickly stretched out a hand to cover her face tightly. She still felt a little uneasy, so she simply hugged Cai Hongming from behind and buried her whole face behind him. Cai Hongming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Isn't this the same as carrying a sandbag? How can he catch fish? But there is no other way. This is the only way now. The school of fish came quickly, and when he got closer, he found that it was a school of tuna. The ones jumping on the sea surface were smaller, and the big tunas were all swimming in the sea. He looked into the water. Wow, each one was bigger than the other, and the smallest was 1 meter. It would be a shame not to catch this thing. But his wife is here. What should he do? He turned his head and saw that she buried her head tightly behind her, not daring to look up. When Cai Hongming saw this, he was moved. He quickly put the net bag containing the fish into the blessed land in the jade tripod, and then asked the pink manta ray to swim to the middle of the school of fish. When the pink manta ray came over, he suddenly used the scoop net to catch the head of the tuna in the water, and then quickly put it into the water space of the platinum dragon seal. The school of fish came quickly and left quickly. Cai Hongming was also very fast at catching fish. No matter how big or small, as long as he caught it, he would send it into the water space of the platinum dragon seal to keep it. In the end, even he himself didn't know how many fish he caught. After the school of fish passed, he specially left a big tuna down, and then took out the net bag containing the fish from the blessed land in the jade tripod. Then he said to Shiwana, who was still burying her head tightly in his back, "Wife, it's okay, the school of fish has passed." Shiwana listened, quietly looked up, and found that the school of fish was really gone, so she let go of her hand with relief. At this moment, she suddenly saw Cai Hongming holding a 1 meter long fish in his hand, and exclaimed, "Wow, what a big fish. We have delicious food tonight. I'll make sashimi for you when we get back." "Yeah." Shiwana nodded happily. Her husband was the best to her. Seeing that the fish had been caught, Cai Hongming let the pink manta go back. As the sun set, a neon light dyed the blue sea a bright red. Shiwana hugged Cai Hongming, looked back, and looked at the backs of the two people on the back of the pink manta ray under the sunset. She couldn't help but think, in this world, it is easy to get priceless treasures, but it is hard to find a lover. It is enough to meet him in this life. To be continued. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 59. Love. The sky darkened, and the island was surrounded by a hazy haze. After everyone left, only Cai Hongming and Shiwana were left on the island. Apart from the sound of the waves hitting the beach, there was only the heartbeats of the two people, and it seemed very quiet. In the round building that looked like a lighthouse, Cai Hongming was busy making dinner in the kitchen, slicing the tuna he had caught. Although the round building was small, it had everything you could need, including a kitchen, a hall, and a bathroom on the ground floor. Generally speaking, deep sea fish is the best for making sashimi, and it must be alive. Fish from rivers and lakes are a step down, because most of the land lakes are now polluted, and it is difficult to find the kind of pure and original fish. The meat quality of fish grown in such polluted waters can be said to be quite poor. Offshore fish are not good either, because industrial and domestic wastewater and fish feed used for artificial breeding have long polluted this pure sea area, and the meat quality of fish living in this sea area is naturally not very good. But deep sea fish are different. The deep sea is not polluted like rivers, lakes and coastal areas on land. The water quality is clear, and the meat of fish living there is much better than that of fish in rivers, lakes and coastal areas on land. It's just that the taste of sea fish is worse than that of freshwater fish, especially freshwater fish that grow up in spring water, because they live in sweet fresh water and breathe fresh water. They are naturally sweet, while sea fish have the fishy and wet smell of sea water, so the taste is naturally inferior. So, there is a gain and a loss, and the words of the ancients are still very reasonable. Although tuna is not a deep sea fish, it is a swimming fish that lives in shallow seas of 100 to 400 meters. The so-called swimming fishes, because it swims all the time. It is said that the gill muscles of tuna have degenerated, so it must swim constantly to allow fresh water to flow through the gills to obtain oxygen. If it stops swimming, it will suffocate to death due to lack of oxygen. It is precisely because it keeps swimming and does not stay in one place. That's why it will not be polluted. Because of the friction between the body and the water flow when swimming, the meat becomes tighter and tastes better. Cai Hongming slowly sliced the meatiest part of the tuna's back, trying to make the slices as thin as paper, so that when eating with sauce, it would not destroy the delicious feeling of the tuna meat in the mouth. No matter how much you eat, you won't feel tired. Of course, you can't just eat tuna, so he took out a lobster weighing about 5 pounds from the platinum dragon seal. For any kind of aquatic product, if you want to taste its natural and most authentic taste, eating it raw is undoubtedly the best choice, followed by steaming, and other methods will destroy its original taste. After slicing the lobster, he went to the vegetable garden to pull out a few lettuces, which were planted by his uncle. They look pretty good, especially for people who come to the island to play. After all, eating only fish meat will feel boring. Everything is ready. Cai Hongming brought the things to the hall. In the hall, the lights are like fire, and Shiwana has cleaned up the table early, set up the dishes and chopsticks, and a jar of old wine. Cai Hongming put the things in place. Looking at the lobster meat slices shining with crystal color under the light, Shiwana couldn't wait to pick up a piece. Cai Hongming sliced the lobster meat as thin as paper. It was almost crystal clear. When you look at it under the light shines through the meat slices, flashing a colorful and charming luster. She gently dipped the lobster meat slices in the sauce that had been soaked in the flavor, put it in her mouth, and chewed it slowly. Suddenly, an indescribable freshness and sweetness penetrated her tongue buds, which was a taste she had never tasted before. Come, have a drink. Cai Hongming poured a glass of wine from the wine jar and handed it to her. Shiwana took it and tasted it lightly. The freshness and sweetness of the lobster meat permeated the mellow wine. Not only did it not destroy the meat quality of the lobster, but it led to sublimation, giving her a kind of spiritual and physical satisfaction. It's delicious. Shiwana praised the dishes made by her husband. Of course it's delicious. Cai Hongming said in his heart. This lobster is not farmed, but grows naturally in the deep trenches of the sea. The natural flavor seeps into every part of the lobster's body, and it tastes naturally delicious. Unlike those lobsters that are kept in captivity, which absorb feed and drugs, how can those things enter every part of the lobster's body? And this wine, but it is an old wine that has been buried in the ground for more than 10 years. The heat in the wine has long been removed, leaving only a mellow and winny aroma. Wine has the effects of enhancing freshness, removing fishy smell, and relieving greasiness, so this wine is paired with this shrimp, which is simply a match made in heaven and unparalleled in the world. Speaking of this wine, there is a bit of history. When he was studying, Cai Hongming saw in a book that people buried wine in the ground, the longer the better. He was curious, so he buried some in the backyard. As time went by, he forgot about it. This time when he came back, he accidentally remembered it, so he tried to dig it up. Unexpectedly, it was still there, so he brought it to drink. Cai Hongming also picked up a piece of tuna and dipped it in the sauce to eat. The delicious fish meat and the sauce complemented each other. It was a rare delicacy. He couldn't help but have a big appetite and ate it quickly. Shiwana saw that he looked like a starving ghost and was afraid that he would eat all the food, so she hurriedly followed him to eat. Sashimi is also called sashimi, fish sashimi, and anciently called fish sashimi, sashimi or sashimi. It is said that as early as 823 BC, during the reign of King Zuan of Zhao, there were related records of this dish. The Book of Songs, Xiaoya, June wrote, Jifu was happy at the banquet, and he received many blessings. He came back from Heio, and I will go forever. He drank with all his friends, and steamed turtle sashimi and carp. Who is the Marquis? Zhang Zhang is filial and friendly. It means, Jifu was happy at the banquet, and accepted many rewards. He returned from Heijing, and walked for many days. He set up a banquet to entertain friends, and steamed turtle sashimi and carp delicacies. Which friends participated? Zhang Zhang, a loyal and filial man, is here. This shows that this way of eating was highly praised at that time. There is a very famous dish in the way of eating sashimi, called jinki UK. Ki is a kind of seasoning, jinki is a golden seasoning, and UK is naturally a sashimi that looks like jade. The name of jinki UK first appeared in the book Kim and Yaoshu written by Jia Sixi of the Northern Wei dynasty, in which there is a detailed method of making jinki. The fish in UK does not refer to any specific type, and it is fine, as long as it looks like jade. However, Cai Hongming's seasoning for sashimi is not based on the above, but is mixed by himself. He mixes minced garlic, minced ginger and fresh red pepper together, and soaks them in old vinegar and light soy sauce. The sauce soaked in this way has a unique flavor, and it tastes good with fresh lobster and tuna. If mustard is needed, the soaked sauce can be separated and added to a sauce plate. After all, not everyone likes mustard. Several dishes were eaten up in just a short while under the fierce attack of the two. Shiwana felt a little full after eating, because she ate too fast and without restraint. She couldn't help but complain to Cai Hongming, "It's all your fault. If you hadn't snatched it, I wouldn't have eaten so much. If I get fat, you have to be responsible." Cai Hongming said quickly, "Responsible, responsible, responsible for everything, responsible for the rest of my life." Under his wave of sweet words, Shiwana was instantly coaxed into a smile. Cai Hongming himself felt a little full. After all, he cut a fish, a shrimp, and some miscellaneous things. He didn't expect that they were all eaten by the two. It was terrible. So he suggested to his wife to go to the top floor to watch the stars and blow the wind to digest the food. Shiwana agreed, and the two slowly walked up. In the sky, the stars are like the sea, and the stars are twinkling. The two stood on the top floor, snuggling together, looking at the stars, and listening to the sound of the waves. As the saying goes, tonight the stars and the wind, the rooftop is on the seashore and the east of the Ludao. Although they don't have the wings of a phoenix, they are connected in spirit. After a while, the food was digested. Perhaps it was the alcohol that was rising. The two felt their bodies getting hotter and hotter, and the sound of the waves in their ears gradually turned into aphrodisiac songs. Cai Hongming's hands became unruly, and he slowly lifted up the two majestic peaks from Shiwana's lower abdomen, kneading them gently. Shiwana was so aroused by his kneading that she couldn't help but moan softly. Cai Hongming couldn't bear it anymore, took off his pants, and entered the softness that was wrapped heavily from behind, and moved forward. In an instant, Shiwana was lost in the ups and downs caused by the violent movement. That night, the two of them made love madly from the top of the building to the bottom of the building, from the sofa to the table, from under the bed to the bed, until the last eruption that hit her heart. Shiwana, who was trembling constantly, clearly felt that there was a life in her belly. She touched it gently, with a maternal glow in her eyes. Turning his head to look at the woman who had fallen asleep from exhaustion, his eyes were filled with tenderness and infinite love. To be continued. Chapter 60, Selling Gold, Part 1. It was still early, and the world was hazy. After a moment, suddenly, a red sun jumped out of the sea, bright and dazzling, with strands of golden light bursting out, instantly reflecting on the sea surface, dyeing a dark blue into golden. The sun shone on the bed through the screen window. Shiwana opened her eyes and looked out the window. Suddenly, a golden wave swaying in the wind came into view. The pink manta ray was playing in the sea early, either rolling in the sea or leaping up against the waves, making the appearance of a bird flying in the air. Unfortunately, it was not a bird after all, and after a while, it fell into the sea again in a mess. It seemed to see Shiwana looking out the window, so it flapped its fleshy wings and called whoosh to greet her. Seeing its cute appearance, Shiwana couldn't help but chuckle. Cai Hongming was awakened by her laughter, but he didn't want to get up. He closed his eyes, turned over, hugged Shiwana's soft waist, and asked lazily, "What are you laughing at? Look at that pink manta ray, it's so fun." Cai Hongming leaned out of the window and said, "Why did this guy come so early? Let's go and take a bath in the sea together." "I'm not going," Shiwana said, lifting the quilt and getting back into bed. It is said that the first 3 months of pregnancy are the most important. She felt that she was pregnant, but she didn't dare to do anything else. Seeing that she was going to be a lazy pig, Cai Hongming was speechless. He couldn't sleep again, so he got up and went surfing, with the pink manta ray as the petal. This guy also likes to play with him, being stepped on by him, and taking him to do various actions on the sea, and he was very happy. Shiwana secretly took pictures in the tower, and then quickly posted them on Weibo and Moments to show off, making some people envious and jealous. After playing with the pink manta ray for a while, Cai Hongming went to the bottom of the sea to fish up some fresh scallops to cook porridge. When he came ashore, he looked back inadvertently. Suddenly he saw the pink manta ray lying on the beach and looking pitifully, and he suddenly felt an inexplicable throbbing in his heart. From the time he met this guy until now, he has undoubtedly regarded it as a partner and friend, and it seems to feel the same way. The little guy's heart is lonely. If he leaves him, he will probably have to wander in the sea. What if he encounters a fishing boat and gets caught one day? After all, there are too many indescribable dangers in the sea. Cai Hongming wondered whether to put it in the platinum dragon seal, so that he could protect it and let it survive well. Besides, the water space of the platinum dragon seal is very large, and even he can't see the end, and he is not afraid that it will not be enough for it to toss, but in this way, it will lose its freedom. But there is no so-called double-edged sword in this world. If you gain something, you will naturally lose something. So, Cai Hongming put the pink manta ray into the platinum dragon seal. This guy seemed to like the water space of the platinum dragon seal very much, and swam freely in it. He observed for a while, and was relieved when he saw that it did not resist. After breakfast, Lucashan's yacht just came over. Cai Hongming waited for him to go to the island to arrange things. Then he asked him to take him and his wife back. Because they had already set a time to go back, they were not idle. After they got home, they immediately found a car to go to the city to buy things, mostly specialties of southern Fujian, such as dried longan, dried lychee, salted plum, tribute candy, crisp candy, pink black preserved radish, dried squid, dried cuttlefish, shrimp, scallops and so on. Cai Hongming went to a Zanzi shop to buy a bunch of his favorite rice dumplings. These rice dumplings are filled with scallops, abalone, shrimp, braised meat, braised eggs, white sesame, chestnuts, mushrooms and so on. They taste very delicious, but they are also very expensive. The most expensive one is 15 yuan. The cheapest one is 5 yuan. But the cheap ones tasted almost the same as the rice dumplings sold in the market, so it was better not to buy them. After a busy morning, Cai Hongming bought countless things, but he didn't take anything home except the rice dumplings. He just packed them and sent them by express to save the trouble of taking them back. In fact, he could also put them into the paradise in the jade tripod, but in this way, the secret of the paradise would inevitably be discovered, which was really not advisable. After buying things, he stayed for 2 more days. When it was time to go back, Cai Hongming took Shiwana to Shanghai by plane. Shiwana hadn't seen her 2 good sisters for a long time, and she missed them. Moreover, she felt that she was pregnant, and she might not have much time to be with them in the future, so she came to get together. Cai Hongming said goodbye to her here, and took the train to suss how to find Ruan Xiangsun, wanting to ask him if he had any acquaintances in the gold and silver shop or bank, so as to sell the pile of gold and silver fished out of the sea. Shiwana hadn't seen her two good sisters Yi Yi and Yanling for a long time, and it was inevitable that she would talk about all kinds of things when they met. After talking for a while, Yi Yi seemed to have discovered something. She immediately slid her fingers gently across Shiwana's soft cheeks. Feeling the smoothness and tenderness from her fingertips, she couldn't help but ask in surprise, "Choo choo, what kind of cosmetics do you use? How come your face has become so white and tender?" Shiwana was surprised to hear this and said, "No, Hongming doesn't like others to wear makeup or spray perfume, so now let alone makeup, I haven't even sprayed perfume. If you don't believe me, smell it." Yi Yi really leaned over to smell it. There was really no perfume smell, but there was a fragrance like the wild, faint, and you couldn't smell it at all if you didn't smell it carefully. "Then how come your face has become so white and tender?" Yi Yi asked, and then said indignantly, "It's really unfair. We use good cosmetics every day, but it's worse than you without makeup. It seems that you are old." Suddenly, she remembered something, so she asked carefully, "I heard that the skin will become very good after doing that. Is it true?" "What that thing?" Shiwan looked confused. "It's just about men and women making love." Yi Yi rolled her eyes at her. Shiwana didn't expect her to think so, thinking she was teasing her, and said angrily, "You little slut, I don't know what you're thinking about all day. I'll punish you." After that, she tickled her armpit. "No." Yi Yi begged for mercy and hid next to Yanling, asking her to help. For a while, the three of them were in a mess. Cai Hongming had called Ruan Xiangsun before arriving in Suzhou, and the two made an appointment to meet and talk in a tea house. They hadn't seen each other for a while, so they started chatting. "How come you have time to come here today? I wanted to find you. Why are you looking for me? I don't have anything to sell to you." "It's not about buying things. I heard from Ziweifeng that you went to the mountains to dig a lot of cordyceps last year. I haven't dug it yet, and I want to go and see if you can help." "Of course, but why would you go dig cordyceps if you don't do business?" "For fun. I can't always bury my head in making money and have no time to play." Cai Hongming looked at his nonchalant look and felt that things were not that simple, but it was none of his business. If he wanted to go dig, he could go dig. Just don't be so tired that he would cry for his parents. He also told Ruan Xiangsun that he wanted to find someone to sell gold and silver. Ruan Xiangsun happened to have a friend who worked in a bank, so he called him and made an appointment to meet in the afternoon. To be continued, Chapter 61, Selling Gold, Part 2. In the afternoon, Ruan Xiangsun's friend came as promised in the tea house. The three of them drank tea and chatted about irrelevant things for a while before getting to the point. Ruan Xiangsun's friend asked Cai Hongming to take out the gold and silver ingots he wanted to sell, and then took out the instruments he brought and began to check. The inspection results showed that the gold and silver ingots were all 0.999 pure gold and silver. Ruan Xiangsun and this friend probably had a good relationship. After checking, he looked at it and said to Cai Hongming honestly, "Your gold and silver ingots should be considered antiques. It's a pity to sell them to the bank." "Do you really want to sell them?" "Sell." Cai Hongming also knew that this thing was an antique, but there are differences among antiques. Just like these gold and silver ingots he fished out of the sea, if they had some official or private marks on them, they would definitely be valuable if sold as antiques. Unfortunately, this is privately minted silver, and there is not even a mark on it. How can it be sold? Moreover, he had a lot of gold and silver ingots, and they were not worth much if sold as antiques, so there was no difference between selling them to antique shops and banks. "How much do you have?" Ruan Xiangsun's friend asked again. "About 1 ton of gold ingots, and more than 1 ton of silver ingots." After hearing this, Ruan Xiangsun's friend thought for a while and said, "It's not a good idea to sell so much gold and silver like you to a bank, because the bank will clearly record the origins of these things when doing accounting. It's not easy to talk about it at ordinary times, but if someone wants to track it down, it will be very troublesome." Cai Hongming frowned slightly because his things were not easy to expose to the public. Although the sunken ship, where the gold and silver ingots were found, was located in the strait at the junction of the mainland and Taiwan, it could be said to be a no man's land. But with so much gold and silver, it's possible that someone would be jealous. If they were discovered, they would be finished. They had to be confiscated. Don't whine over there, just tell me what you want to do. Seeing him hesitant and long-winded, Ruan Xiangsuan said impatiently beside him. In fact, you don't have to sell it to the bank. There are so many gold shops on the market now, and there are many people who buy these things, and the price they offer is higher than the bank. Ruan Xiangsuan's friend heard it and said hurriedly. Then, nothing? What can happen? Ruan Xiangsuan's friend laughed. Seeing that he was confident, Cai Hongming thought about it. He asked Ruan Xiangsuan's friend to help contact the buyer, and the price was indeed higher than the bank. In the end, the gold and silver ingots were sold for more than 200 million. Silver ingots were the least valuable, and 8 boxes only sold for more than 4 million, while 6 boxes of gold ingots sold for more than 210 million. After selling the things, Cai Hongming invited Ruan Xiangsuan and his friend to a big meal at the hotel. He originally wanted to give some money to his friend, but he didn't expect that he was so noble and refused to take it. He couldn't help but sigh. There are still good people in this world? ? But later, when he heard Ruan Xiangsuan talk, he realized that it was not the case at all. People who introduce business to the gold shop get kickbacks, so of course they won't be interested in his little money. Besides, it's vulgar to talk about money when doing a favor for a friend. Cai Hongming felt more confident when he had money. Knowing that Ruan Xiangsuan was well known in Suzhou, he asked him to help find a shop near the commercial street. He wanted to buy it and use it as a store. He had wanted to turn the barbecue noodle shop in Gilong into a chain store earlier, but unfortunately he didn't have much money. He couldn't open a branch. Now that he finally had money, he was a little impatient. But it would take more than a day or two to find a store, so he could only wait for news from Ruan Xiangsuan. After selling the things, he didn't stay in Suzhou for long, but went to Shenzhen to meet up with Shiwana and returned to the northwest. Ruan Xiangsuan would not go there until May, because cordyceps could only be dug at that time. Before going home, Cai Hongming and Shiwana had to visit their father-in-law and mother-in-law in the provincial capital. Because he bought a copy and sent it over when he was shopping at home earlier, so he didn't bring anything today. He went to his father-in-law's house empty-handed. Cai Hongming felt strange, so he bought a bunch of fruits at the market. Ding dong. Cai Hongming and his wife stood in front of his father-in-law's house and rang the doorbell. After a while, there were several noises from inside, and the door opened, but it was not the familiar father-in-law and mother-in-law, but a big-headed soldier over 1.8 meters tall wearing a military uniform. This is obviously Shiwana's brother Shi Jinxing. This guy used to see him bullying his sister, so he blocked the intersection after school to teach him a lesson. The consequences can be imagined. How could a little brat who only knows how to study be the opponent of the tall man who has practiced martial arts since he was a child? He was just one step away from stepping on his face and letting him sing conquer. Brother. Shiwan looked at him and exclaimed in surprise. Hey, aren't you in the army? Why are you back? Cai Hongming said strangely. When Shi Jinxing heard this, his eyebrows jumped. What is this? Can't you go home when you are in the army? However, Shi Jinxing was his brother-in-law after all, so he didn't dare to kick him. He just put his foot on his chin and said, you have to beat me first. Don't make a move, or I'll hit you. Shiwana patted Cai Hongming in dissatisfaction and asked Shi Jinxing, brother, has my sister-in-law come back? She's back, helping mom wash vegetables in the kitchen. When Shiwana heard it, she ran in and left Cai Hongming at the door. Fortunately, he had been here several times and was very familiar with his father-in-law's family, so he didn't say anything. He walked in directly, put 2 large bags of fruit on the dining table, then took a few Taiwanese green dates to the bathroom to wash them, threw one to Shi Jinxing, and sat on the sofa with his feet up to eat. While eating, he asked Shi Jinxing, why are you back? Aren't your troops on duty during the spring festival? Many times, especially during holidays, the troops generally do not rest, mainly to maintain stability, and most people will be sent to assist local governments in strengthening security. Isn't the spring festival over? Besides, we are not the armed police, nor the central garrison force, so we don't have to work as hard as they do. That's right. I say, you should be nicer to my sister in the future. If I find out that you bully her, no matter how good you are at fighting, I can deal with you. I know. Is it fun to keep saying this? Cai Hongming said unhappily. Besides, which eye of yours saw that I was not good to Wana? Didn't you see that I raised her to be fat and white? Wana came out of the kitchen and just heard what he said and immediately said angrily, "Do you think I'm a pig?" Cai Hongming hurriedly said, "How is it possible? I treat you as my sweetheart." Humph. You are so smooth talking. Who knows what you think? Shi Jinxing was relieved to see them like this. He was afraid that Cai Hongming would bully his sister. Now it seems that his sister has probably liked him for a long time, but she just didn't know it. What a bad fate. To be continued. Chapter 62. Lovely little girl. Dad, Yuan wants to eat some fruit too. A little girl suddenly appeared beside Shi Jinxing and said in a baby voice when she saw him biting the green dates with relish. This is Shi Jinxing's daughter, who is 4 years old this year. She has a chubby and tender face and 2 pigtails, which is very cute. Shi Jinxing loves his daughter very much. When he heard this, he immediately snatched 2 green dates from Cai Hongming's hand for her to eat. The little girl took it and immediately began to bite it. Click, click. At this moment, a pair of rabbit teeth were exposed from her mouth, and with her chubby little face, she looked like a little squirrel chewing pine cones, which was very cute. The more Cai Hongming looked at her, the more he liked her. He smiled very lovingly and said to her, "Yuan, come here, let uncle hug you." That smile was a bit weird, like a weird uncle holding candy to tempt children. Yuan didn't let him hug her. She got into Shi Jinxing's arms, turned her head, and looked at him vigilantly with wide eyes, and didn't forget to bite the green dates in her mouth. She was really a little foodie. Seeing the little girl like this, Cai Hongming did not think it was a problem, but loved her even more. He turned around and said to Shiwana, who was setting the dishes, "Wife, we must give birth to such a beautiful little girl in the future." Before Shiwana could answer, Yuan immediately got out of her father's arms, stood with her hands on her waist and said, "Impossible. Mom said Yuan is the most beautiful and lovely little girl in the world, no one else." Cai Hongming's face twitched when he heard it. How arrogant a mother must be to say such a thing. At this moment, a woman with a tall figure walked out of the kitchen. A pair of peaks stood out in casual clothes, and her pretty face had an intellectual and mature charm, which was comparable to the exotic beauty of his wife. There was even a hint of nobility. This should be Shi Jinxing's wife. I didn't expect her to be so beautiful. It was a pity to marry Shi Jinxing. Suddenly, he felt a sad feeling that flowers were stuck in cow dung and good cabbages were pushed by pigs. Wanayu, come here, let me introduce you. This is Hongming, Wana's husband, and he was Wana's classmate in elementary school. The two can be considered childhood sweethearts, but this guy often bullied her when she was in school. For this reason, I even challenged him to fight several times, but unfortunately I lost every time. Wanayu nodded and greeted Cai Hongming, then turned around. She glared at Shi Jinxing unhappily. "How dare you say such a thing? Aren't you afraid of being embarrassed? What's there to be embarrassed about? It should be glorious for a brother to protect his sister and lose," Shi Jinxing said righteously. Cai Hongming curled his lips. What is shameless? This is it. Yuan, who was still standing with her hands on her hips, saw that no one was paying attention to her, so she ran to Wanayu, pointed at her little face with 2 fingers, tilted her head and asked, Mom, is Yuan the most beautiful and lovely little girl in the world?" "Of course. Our baby is definitely the most beautiful and lovely girl in the world, no doubt about it." Wanayu kissed her daughter, who was so cute that she almost killed people, and said. Yuan heard it, turned her head proudly, and said humph to Cai Hongming. "This little brat is really conceited." Cai Hongming rolled his eyes. Seeing her daughter like this, Wanayu couldn't help but curiously asked Shi Jinxing, "What's going on? What else could it be?" "Just now, Hongming saw that your daughter was so beautiful and cute, and said that he also wanted to give birth to such a beautiful little girl. Your daughter said, 'It's impossible. Mom said Yuan is the most beautiful and lovely little girl in the world, no one else.'" Wanayu heard this and giggled, hugged her daughter and kissed her, saying, "Of course, our baby is the most beautiful and lovely invincible fairy in the world. No one can give birth to the same." Yuan was even more proud now, with her hands on her waist and her chin raised high, becoming more and more proud, which made everyone laugh. Cai Hongming's father-in-law now works in the Public Security Bureau. He is usually very busy, and usually doesn't go home for lunch at noon, so they just ate a little lunch casually, and waited for his father-in-law to come back in the evening, before having a hearty dinner together. After dinner, Hongming called his son and son-in-law to the study to talk. When you become a high-ranking official, you will naturally have taste. Cai Hongming still remembers how messy it was when he went to his house before. It is not only tidy, but also looks very grand now. Jinxing, how long will you be back this time? Hongming asked Shi Jinxing. I have a vacation of about half a month. It's rare for me to come back. I want to take Wanu and Yuan out for a walk. Well, this is a good idea. We can go to Hongming's farm. His farm is very big. There are ostriches and yaks to ride. Yuan will definitely like it. Then I have to go and see it. The three chatted about their recent situation and the recent domestic and foreign situations. Anyway, it was a casual chat. Because he had known their family since he was a child, Cai Hongming didn't feel restrained. Besides, he had already married his wife, so he was not afraid of anything. All men are like this. After staying at his father-in-law's house for 2 days, Cai Hongming and his wife returned to Ginnan with Shi Jinxing's family who wanted to go to his place to play. Everything in Ginnan remained the same. The business of the shops selling barbecue noodles was still so prosperous. After having a meal in his own shop at noon, Cai Hongming drove a group of people to Zhejiang. It was just a short absence, and when I came back, I felt that everything was so fresh. It was also different from the place in southern Fujian, where there were flowers everywhere, and green mountains and clear waters, to the northwest, where there were sand dunes everywhere, which looked desolate, and could be said to be a land where no one lived. At this time, it was already mid-March. March was spring, and it was not a good month in the desert, because there was no rain at this time, and because the grass and trees were frozen dry in winter. When the snow on the ground melted, revealing the dry ground below, the wind blew, and rolled up the yellow sand everywhere. This is how sandstorms come. Although there are no sandstorms in the desert now, there are small whirlwinds. These whirlwinds rolled up the yellow sand so high that it looked like smoke rising from the ground, spinning and running in the desert. When we first entered the desert, Yuan seemed very curious and kept staring out. After a while, she found that there was yellow sand everywhere, and she got bored, tired, and fell asleep in her mother's arms. The car was driving on the desert road, and the endless yellow sand kept passing by the car. In the distance, there were hills made of yellow sand. This was a world of yellow sand, an ocean of yellow sand, and the endless yellow sand connected to the sky. It was impossible to imagine where the sand ended. The sky was bleak, and the sun shone into the car window. Looking at the beautiful woman who closed her eyes and rested beside him, Cai Hongming didn't know why he was not impatient to go home. Instead, he had a leisurely mentality of strolling in the garden and being content. A thin layer of clouds floated in the sky, as if accompanied by a hint of warmth and spring love. Many troubles and anxieties were all blown away by the wind at this time, and the soul merged with nature at this moment. The reserve, maturity, and sophistication of adults suddenly became simple and innocent. This was what he liked. In fact, for him, life should be simple, and not too complicated. To be continued. Chapter 63. Cai Hongming is like a weird uncle. Generally speaking, it takes half a day, or 6 hours, to drive from Guilin to Cai Hongming's Zhejiang farm. Of course, this is not absolute, because he always drives very slowly, and never exceeds 60 kilometers. If the car is driven to 100 kilometers or more, it should be reached in about 3 hours. However, he dare not drive at this speed. He once fell down when riding a motorcycle, because he drove too fast, which left a shadow in his heart. So later he modified the 4-wheeled motorcycle to be as strong as a copper wall, and equipped with airbags. Besides, there is sand everywhere in this desert. It's okay on the desert highway, but it's not okay to turn to the small road. If you drive too fast and get stuck in the sand, or fall into a pit, the car will flip over. There is no village in front, and no store behind in the desert, which can be fatal. After driving for several hours, the car finally arrived at Zhejiang. From a distance, there is a towering city, and tall giant cacti stand in front of the city, which is very dazzling. Under Cai Hongming's careful care, these giant column cacti have survived cold winters, and now they have adapted to the environment here, and started to grow normally. Last year, when Yuanping discussed with Cai Hongming about borrowing this piece of cactus to shoot a film, he felt that there were too few cacti here, so he planned to ask him to remove the plants such as a larxil and amadendron behind the giant column cactus and plant some fake giant column cacti. However, Cai Hongming rejected his request, saying that fake things were too ugly, so he asked him to pay more money, and he asked the boss who bought the cactus last time, to send a batch to plant. This way it looks tall and grand, and the pictures will be better. Yuanping thought about it and agreed. Anyway, it's not much money. Now in front of the gate of Zhengzheng, there are towering giant column cacti everywhere, which are very beautiful. The car slowly approached. Suwanayu saw groups of yaks and ostriches walking and running on the sand, as well as some chickens, ducks, geese, pigs, and sheep. In the neatly planted fields next to them, seedlings broke through the soil, revealing their delicate youth. Looking back, there was still an endless desert, which seemed to be a vast sea. Some places were as smooth as a mirror, some places were sparkling, and some places were surging. There were also places with huge waves. Compared with everything in front of me, it seemed like two different worlds. After seeing the tall ostriches, Yuan, who had slept well, shouted that she wanted to go down to see them, so Cai Hongming stopped the car. The group got off the car. Their feet stepped on the soft sand. There were bursts of joyful crunching sounds. Suwanayu had never been to the desert before. She walked slowly in it, carefully examining the frozen sea, and savoring the majestic and delicate tenderness of the desert. The scenery here is different from other places, because it changes every moment. Perhaps, you leave your mark here at this moment, but after a while, when the wind blows, the lines of footprints and a piece of trace left behind will be obliterated. The yaks and ostriches are surrounded by wooden fences. However, the golden yak, and the white yak, the ostrich king and the ostrich group, and several ostriches, that were fed with water-diluted jade toad liquid by Cai Hongming, were not included in this list. Because after drinking too much water-diluted jade toad liquid, these guys' intelligence has been significantly improved. Unlike other guys who trample and shit everywhere, Cai Hongming allowed them to walk around. The ostrich king was also outside. When he saw Cai Hongming coming back, he ran over and rubbed his head against him to say hello. In a moment, the black and white twins who felt Cai Hongming coming back ran out of the Zhengzheng like the wind. This guy came in front of Cai Hongming and suddenly stood up, stretched out his two claws, and leaned against him, wanting to be intimate with him. Cai Hongming hurriedly grabbed its two dog paws. This guy, he is so big, and still like this. If he was not strong, he would not be able to be pressed down by him. The black and white twins stretched out their tongues and licked Cai Hongming's face vigorously, trying to say a warm greeting to him. Unfortunately, Cai Hongming avoided it from a distance and didn't want to do this with it at all. Seeing that he was not happy, the honest black and white twins did not force it and turned to greet Shiwana. In fact, the person it disliked the most at home was Shiwana, because every time she washed it clean, sprayed it with fragrance, and then held it, used it as a pillow, quilt, toy, and footrest, it felt that it had no dignity as a big dog, so it didn't like it very much. When Yuan saw the ostrich king and the black and white twins, she was fascinated by their charm, but she was a little scared, so she hid behind her mother and watched secretly. Cai Hongming saw it and smiled. Yuan, do you want to ride an ostrich? Uncle will take you to ride, okay? Looking at the smiling Cai Hongming, Yuan felt that he was like the weird uncle on TV, who used things to deceive children. She would not be fooled. She quickly hid behind her mother. Seeing her like this, Cai Hongming was speechless. Is he so scary? He is very kind, okay. Shiwana was watching from the side and found it funny. She glared at him unhappily and walked over to talk to Yuan. After a few words, she carried her on the black and white devils and let them carry her forward, while she and Suwanayu guarded her closely on both sides. Your farm is so big, can you manage it? Shi Jinxing asked Cai Hongming, looking at the vast sandy land in front of him. Of course, now everything is grown with machinery, and it doesn't require physical effort, so how can you not manage it? His daughter ignored him, so Cai Hongming also disliked Shi Jinxing a little. Because livestock such as yaks and ostriches are raised outside, and many things are planted in the fields, someone must be watching outside, so Cai Hongming asked people to build several stilt wooden buildings outside for the people on duty to rest. Today it was Liu Zhang and Pan Heyman's turn to watch outside. They were resting in the wooden building, and when they saw Cai Hongming coming back, they walked over. Cai Hongming asked the two about the recent situation of the farm, and then he knew that the recruits that Zhidong had said he would recruit earlier were already in place. There were 8 special elites like them, and more than 50 other ordinary retired soldiers. It was just that some people were not used to the climate and soil when they came here, and some left again after seeing how desolate this place was. Now, including the special forces, there are only 50 people left. After chatting for a while, Cai Hongming drove with Shi Jinxing to chase Shiwana and the others. Passing through the city gate tower and coming inside, a fragrance of the wilderness hit them in the face. Cai Hongming suddenly realized that everything inside had changed completely after just a few days of absence. I remember that when he left, the paddy field was still dry, but now it has been plowed and filled with water and planted with green seedlings. When you smell it, the fragrance of young seedlings hits your nose, and taking a deep breath makes you feel relaxed and happy. He let Shiwana drive the car, and he got out of the car and walked towards the paddy field. Because of early breeding, plus the help of the water diluted Yuchan liquid, the seedlings are growing well. After he left, he specially left a black jade bottle filled with jade toad liquid for bagging, asking him to take it and pour some into the water tower every day. Bagan was also an experienced person. He didn't ask anything after listening, and just did what he told him. When the rice seedlings grow up a little bit, he will have someone send turtles over. This year, he doesn't want to raise any crucian carp, but only turtles and loaches. The price of turtles is relatively high after they grow up, and loaches can be used to feed turtles or sell them, which can be said to be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. After seeing the paddy fields, Cai Hongming walked into the greenhouse. The greenhouse that was full of vegetables in the past has long been emptied and opened into a row of early spring peanuts. Now the peanut seedlings have emerged from the soil, looking lush and green, which is very pleasing. Because of the existence of the greenhouse, the fields here are not like before, which can only be planted for 1 season, but can be planted for 2 seasons. So Cai Hongming planted peanuts in the first season, because peanuts can be pressed for oil. Nowadays, the market is flooded with various oils, such as corn germ oil, rice oil, blended oil, rapeseed oil, etc. Some of them were never heard of before, but now they are all out. Some oils have a terrible taste. He had eaten a kind of black rapeseed oil before, and the taste was simply unbearable. He vomited it all after eating it once. So now the oil they eat at home is the self-pressed peanut oil sent by the family from their hometown in southern Fujian. After the peanuts are grown, and the oil is pressed, not only can they be eaten by themselves, but also sold. The peanut residue after the oil is pressed can also be used to feed livestock, make various cakes and fertilizers, which can be said to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. After the peanuts are planted, sweet potatoes are planted next. Last year, because it was virgin land, not many sweet potatoes were produced. This year, the output should be a little higher. In addition, more sand outside the farm will be reclaimed this year to plant sweet potatoes and corn, so there will be a lot more feed for livestock this year. Therefore, he raised more yaks and ostriches this year, and also raised some chickens, ducks, geese, pigs, and sheep. If he can raise them well, he won't have to go to the county market to buy meat in the future, saving the trouble of running back and forth. After all, it takes a whole day to go to Ginong to buy meat, and it is still very tiring to take a car. To be continued, Chapter 64 Fish Row. After looking at the peanuts, Cai Hongming walked to a corner of the greenhouse where sandworms were raised. After a period of time, it was proved that sandworms like to eat the humus soil that he had fertilized with livestock feces, vegetable leaves, etc. Therefore, He divided the soil for feeding sandworms into two sides, one side with new humus soil and the other side with old humus soil. In this way, when the new humus soil is put in, the sandworms in the old humus soil will drill into the new humus soil to find food, and then they can shovel out the old humus soil. The old humus soil is actually the feces that the sandworms excrete after eating the humus soil. It is in pieces, like agricultural compound fertilizer particles, but it is healthier and more nutritious than that, so it is very suitable for fertilizing the land. The sand land outside has just been opened up, it is new land, and it is not fertile, so these fertilizers come in handy. The sandworms are raised more and more, from dozens of them to hundreds and thousands, filling the pool where the sandworms are raised. Last time, he used sandworms to make a crispy sandworm dish. Although it tasted good, everyone felt that it tasted strange, so no one dared to eat it anymore. No one eats it, and there are more and more sandworms. What should I do? In fact, the sandworms can be dried and crushed and mixed into feed to feed livestock, but this is a waste, which goes against his original intention of promoting sandworms as a delicacy. However, he has no good way now, because no one on the farm likes to eat it. Therefore, he can only ask people to make mature sandworms into sauce meat and dry them in vacuum packaging. In this way, if they are well preserved, they can be stored for a long time. If there are more in the future, they can be sold in stores. No one eats it here, but it does not mean that no one eats it in other places. Chinese people eat everything, such as green worms on trees, mice and grasshoppers in the fields, cicada monkeys, bee pupae, ants, termites, snakes, centipedes in the woods, intestinal worms in the sea, and so on. Most of them are eaten by people. After looking at the sandworms, Cai Hongming took a shovel from the side and dug into the humus soil. After a while, the true appearance of the meat Ganoderma was revealed. After he cut a few pieces of this meat Ganoderma and raised them in the blessed land in the jade tripod, the size became smaller, but now it has begun to recover slowly. After a period of observation, this meat Ganoderma and sandworms seem to complement each other. This is indeed the case. He cut a few pieces of meat from the meat Ganoderma and put them into the blessed land in the jade tripod. After raising them, he found that, although the meat Ganoderma inside can also grow, the grown meat Ganoderma is not as thick and textured as the meat Ganoderma in the sandworm pool. It is just not that heavy, and feels very light and empty. It was not until he dug a piece of land inside to raise sandworms and put those small pieces of meat Ganoderma in that this phenomenon was slowly alleviated. After taking a look, Cai Hongming buried the meat Ganoderma. In fact, if this meat Ganoderma is used well, it will be another delicious dish. Because it is something that can be used infinitely, the meat on it can be cut off and raised. It is estimated that a way to cultivate meat Ganoderma can be developed, but it depends on whether the meat Ganoderma can be eaten. There were guests today, so Cai Hongming caught a few sandworms and went out to make a dessert-style delicacy for Shi Jinxing and the others. Of course, sandworms alone were not enough. He went to Shengui Lake and caught 2 more fish, 1 sturgeon and 1 grass carp. When he bought sturgeons earlier, he specially bought some mature ones that could lay eggs immediately to raise. For this, he paid almost 10,000 yuan for each one. 10,000 yuan is not expensive, because now 10 grams of ordinary caviar on the market sells for about 300 yuan. His is not an ordinary hybrid fish, but a precious fish that originated from the white period 130 million years ago, the Deren sturgeon, which is only found in the Heilongjiang River basin in the world. Besides, how many fish eggs are there in a fish? It must be more than 10 grams. It is difficult to catch fish in a lake of nearly 100 acres, but Cai Hongming has a way. He took some fish food from the lake and mixed it with the jade toad liquid and sprinkled it into the lake. When the fish in the lake smelled the jade toad liquid, they immediately swarmed over to grab food. Fish that eat are stupid, you can catch them however you want. That's how Cai Hongming caught them. The sturgeon he caught was very big, probably hundreds of pounds. When he got to the kitchen and cut open its belly, it was full of fish roe. These fish roe are the raw materials for making the precious ingredient caviar. In fact, caviar is not very delicious because it is a fresh product pickled with salt, with a salty smell, and some people don't like this taste. However, if it is paired with wine, the wine will remove the salty smell in the fish roe, bring out the sweetness of the fish roe, and the taste will be better. However, Cai Hongming did not want to follow the tradition. The traditional way is to pickle the fish roe with salt, which is too salty. He plans to find some recipes for making plasters at home, add them to the fish roe, use the aroma of medicinal materials to remove the fishy smell of the fish roe, and make the fish roe more beneficial to the body. Many people only know the deliciousness of fish roe, but they don't know that fresh fish roe can also nourish the kidneys and boost yang. However, it is quite troublesome to soak the herbs in the fish roe. The herbs must be boiled to make a concentrated liquid, and then diluted with water to a certain proportion, before they can be used to soak the fish roe. Moreover, the time cannot be too long, which is very troublesome. Therefore, Cai Hongming first salted the fish roe, and put it aside, and soaked it with herbs, when he has time. At noon, Cai Hongming personally cooked a sumptuous dinner for the guests. The dinner included golden fried sturgeon carcasses with egg yolks wrapped in crispy powder, steamed sturgeon, and pan-fried fish belly. In addition, he also boiled a pot of thick fish head soup with grass, carp heads and tofu, and minced the grass carp meat into fish balls, and fried a plate of oil-soaked fish balls, which tasted very delicious. Not only that, he also made the sandworms look like crispy large intestines. In fact, sandworms are delicious in themselves, and do not need to be added, so he made another plate of original sandworms. Just cut the sandworms into small pieces, fry them until crispy, and sprinkle them with salt. It tastes like silkworm pupae, salty and delicious. In addition to these, there were also steaks, ostrich eggs, large intestines with pickles, stir-fried vegetables and other things, and the table was full. Yuan seemed to be hungry, and she stuffed food into her mouth, eating until the corners of her mouth were oily. The little girl didn't know anything, but she was not afraid of insects, so she ate a lot of the fried sandworm meat, because it was crunchy and delicious, and she liked it very much. Shiwana didn't dare to eat sandworms after the last time. Shi Jinxing didn't mind it very much. Suwanayu ate a few bites, and although she felt that it tasted good, women naturally felt disgusted with insects. Although she was not afraid, it tasted strange, so she only ate a little, and didn't eat any more. After a meal, everyone was full. Yuan felt that her stomach was about to explode, so Shiwana suggested going out for a walk, and taking a look at the rare night view of the desert. Shiwana was afraid that she would be tired, so she specially led a white yak for her to ride. She originally wanted to find the black and white devils, but unfortunately the lazy guy had already run away. The little guy was so happy when he saw the white yak, which was as pure white as a snow mountain angel, that he immediately cried out. He sat on it and touched the white yak excitedly and kept talking to it. I don't know if the white yak understood him. To be continued. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.